So first of all, I want to say thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I was never stationed at the 14th, but we did a lot of training out there, like Jump Fest and all kinds of
Yeah.
different stuff. And the one thing I remember a lot of things about you, but the one thing I remember is that every time there was any kind of like party or like some sort of fun time that was going on, you were somehow integral in that. So I was like, I got to get Gary on here. I got to talk to him about some stuff because I mean I've heard other things too. So I'm like, man, I wanted to
None of
hear
it's
about.
true, man. None of it's true. It's all rumors that I cannot confirm nor deny.
Yeah, right. Matter of fact, I just had Hal Sullivan on. We were talking about that, and he was talking about
All
some
lies. All lies. All lies.
right. But no. So yeah. So start us off with like how your childhood and how you grew up and how you got in the military, and we'll just hit it from there.
All right. Yeah. So I grew up in Baltimore, born and raised in Baltimore. I'm the middle kid. My older sister likes to call me the Maverick because I wasn't defiant of my parents, but I was one of those don't tell me no
Right.
kind of deal. So I would stay inside the law, of course, because I feared my parents. They don't do that nowadays, but I did fear my parents, especially my mom, because if she had it in her hands, she'd hit you with only if you deserved it,
Right.
And but no, I kind of laugh because I was a jobber. I did jobs all my, so I mean, starting with paper routes, 8, 9, 10 years old, my brother, and then working with my dad at the funeral home, cutting grass at two different, because my dad worked full-time gas and electric company during the day, and then at night he worked at the Gons Funeral Home in Baltimore. Plug, so
For all your needs, go to those guys.
They're the last ones to let you down. So, he worked there in the evenings, attending, to people. He was sort of like, just kind of a host.
Yeah.
But on weekends, he would maintain the lawns at both funeral homes. So I started working with him there, and then from there was just another job. All my friends were, I played sports. I played baseball, played a little bit of football, but I wasn't into it. I didn't have the killer mentality when it come to putting on pads. If we were just playing on, sandlot, man, I'd hit you all day.
Sure.
But for some reason, when put pads on, I was just kind of like, I don't,
Yeah.
more organized, I guess.
Right.
Because if you're playing if you're playing the kids in your neighborhood, there might be somebody playing against that you don't like. So you kind of
take that opportunity.
Take an opportunity. But yeah. So went to Catholic school, raised a Catholic, went to Catholic grade school, and then went to all boys Catholic high school where I had to wear a tie every day, even to dances. But I played baseball there. It was, so I can tie an actual tie. And you didn't want to get caught with a clip on, because if you got caught with a clip on by one of the seniors, you would catch it. But I played baseball. I did, fresh soft football, but it wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
And then my junior year, my baseball coach was the varsity football coach. He said, "Hey, I need you to come out to play." And I went, "As long as I'm going to play."
Yeah.
If I'm just coming out to be an extra body, then I'm not, he goes, no, you're going to play. So I started out at running back and fullback. And then I went to, to line, and they kept moving me to different positions because some other guy, they wanted to focus that person there. First game came along. I played the last minute. I walked in his office and said, I'll stay at baseball season, because this is wasting my time. I got to work.
Yeah.
I worked at a gas station by then, and pumping gas and changing oil and things. And so then about my junior year, I was talking to a recruiter from my brother's college out of the college at Charleston, West Virginia, because he, played baseball. I said, and the guy comes up and he goes, "Well, we would need you to go to junior college or community college, get your math grades up." And I looked right at him. I said, "Then why would I want to come to your college?"
Right.
Because you don't want me right now.
Yeah.
So why would I come to your college?
Yeah.
I can go anywhere. Well, you could. I said, then I probably wouldn't come to your college.
Right.
I said, as a matter of fact, I said, I'm not even going to do that. I said, I'm going to join the military, and learn a job, and then I'll get out and make six figures.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a poor attitude. I said, no, it's just that, but I knew college wasn't for me, dude.
Sure.
I really did. I knew that if I'm going in, not that I would goof off, but I would feel like if I'm paying for this, then I'll just show up when I need to show up.
Right.
and don't give me, don't give me grief.
Yeah.
I'm paying your salary. That was my mentality. It's like, so I did. I went 17, talked to the recruiter, talked to the Air Force recruiter close to my high school. He called my house because I was 17. My parents had to sign the paperwork.
Right.
And my dad, who had spent 4 years in the Air Force back, right after the Korean War, had gone to Korea. He was like, "No, I'm not signing anything. I'm not going to be his excuse if he doesn't like it." So when he turns 18, he can sign the paperwork himself. Okay. So at 18, I went out. I told my mom, I said, "I'm not going to be home for dinner." She goes, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm going to sign my paperwork." So I did a delayed enlistment in '82.
Yeah.
And then I went in December. But of course, I sucked at tests, especially the ASVAB. So I was probably like many in the TACP career field back then. We open general,
Right.
and it looked cool on paper. Plus, my other choices were bus driver or work in the motor pool. But that it looked the coolest, so I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that," and that's what I signed up for. And I did. Of course, first thing out of recruiter's mouth, "You want to be a cop? You want to go security police?"
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
no,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Because he goes, "You can go right now." I think he needed that quota at that point, but I said, "No, I want my last summer." Plus, I was working 2 jobs, and then went in '82, December of '82, and I was at by February I was at Hurlburt for tech school, and then did tech school.
How was that experience for you?
It was good because I mean, you're young and dumb,
Right.
and you follow people. But I kind of like, I'm not going to throw instructors under the bus, but some of the instructors I had were they lived up to the rude, obnoxious, mean, alcoholic, drunk. You're a romad, but romad, and because I would be like, we'd be dropped for push-ups, or we'd be doing push-ups at PT, and you'd see them initially out of the corner of your eye drop with you, but then they were back up after like 2 push-ups.
Yeah.
Like the guys I had that were taking my flight through, I was Falcon 6, that I refer to nowadays as Pterodactyl 12,
Right.
because and I see all these kids nowadays like, "Yeah, anybody out there from Hulk 92 or Raptor this?" I'm like, "Raptor?"
Yeah, right
So
now.
we had Pterodactyl and Pteranodon
Right.
back in the day. But we would go on, especially Friday runs were the longest runs. And we'd all start out, we'd get around you went through Herbert, right?
Yeah, sure did.
Okay. So you remember the PT field back in the back behind the old barracks.
Right.
We would go down past the EOD camp right there, and then start going back on the back roads to do the 3-mile run. And then all of a sudden the instructors were gone because they peeled off to go to happy hour.
Oh.
And there's only usually 1 or 2 instructors that were finished the run with us. The rest of them, hey, where'd Sergeant so go? We don't know. No, they went to happy hour.
Yeah.
So, and I saw there was the guys that were, they were going, they were like volunteered for airborne.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they get done PT, and then it was the airborne dudes that would just rake them over the coals,
Yeah.
for another PT session. And I looked at it, I went, not right now. Because then one instructor goes, "Oh, you're getting orders to Germany? Oh, they got a jump school in Germany. Wink, wink."
Yeah.
But it wasn't, you had to be jump qualified in order to go to that, already jump qualified to even participate in any kind of jumps for that.
Uh-huh.
And it was they're talking about, "Oh yeah, they have the special forces have one down at Bad Tolts." It's like, no, it's not for, unless you're airborne qualified already or something.
It's not airmen, whoever right out of tech school. It's not really an opportunity for them per se.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. So I went to Germany. I still had to volunteer for airborne school, and I got that. But funny thing was when I got to Germany, I didn't really hear from anybody ahead of time. And back then it was snail mail. Nobody, you never got really a phone call.
Right.
Get snail mail, and so I show up. I land in Frankfurt, and they're policing up, and I'm looking around. I'm in blues, and I'm going, "Oh man, I don't see anybody here really." Well, then I hear this: anyone needing a ride to Illesheim, Germany, come to the information desk. And I looked down. I went, maybe that's Illesheim. I pronounced it Ilsham.
Right.
So I walked up. I said, "Hey, is this where you just called?" And the lady goes, "Yep." And the guy goes, "Oh, I know your boss. I'll give you a ride." So I hop in this dude's a conversion van, all pimped out back, from the late '70s, early '80s,
Right.
and we're cruising down the Autobahn. And when we're leaving, I'm watching all the Army dudes lined up in formation. And we had got delayed out of McGuire. We went from McGuire to Philadelphia because we had a nav problem.
Okay.
So navigational system problem on the plane. So we turned around and sat there for several hours before we left. So now here we've been just sitting there for hours, get to Frankfurt. Now they're all lined up in formation and going to the replacement barracks battalion, waiting for orders out of there. I'm like, glad I'm not them.
No doubt.
And there was an Army dude that was giving me a ride. So
Oh, really?
we get there. Yeah, it was an Army guy giving me a ride. He goes, "Yeah, I know who your boss is. And, we're friends over at the Rod and Gun Club." And so then he turns around and drops me off, and I walk in. And they're like, "Oh, we weren't expecting you for another week, and we thought you were black." I went, I went, "Why?"
Yeah, why?
It's like, "Well, we got a letter from." So back then, for those, I don't remember when you went through, but we had the Stolleries. They were both, I believe, both master sergeants. We call them balls and no balls.
Oh, okay.
And one was the first sergeant, and one was she was in charge of the barracks and the admin or something like that. They both ran the whole, the stuff, the admin side of the house.
Uh-huh.
I played softball for the team, like the school team. So he wrote a letter saying he's great at sports. So they automatically assumed because I was great at sports that I was black, and the fact that they were losing their only black guy.
So they were psyched. They were like,
So, they're like, "Oh, we thought you were black." And I was like, "Sorry to disappoint you." I don't know.
what a weird thing to assume.
I know. It's just because I was good at sports, But then
Yeah.
again, that was the early '80s, and I guess it was still okay,
Yeah.
But so they don't have a room for me, but they're not going to send me over to the Army barracks because they're like, "You don't want to be over there because and they just kind of gave me the rundown.
Sure.
So I slept on the couch in the garage, in the motor pool for a couple of months until this one guy got orders to move off post.
A couple of months.
Yeah, it was like a month or two. Yeah,
Jeez.
It was like a month or two. I was on the couch, so I slept on the couch. All my stuff in bags and up in my locker, personal locker upstairs, and then it's a long time ago.
Right.
That's 83.
Yeah.
84 time frame. I said, so I got orders to Shaw and and to go to jump school. And I got there in early 85 and then went to jump school by that June, air assault school that same year. And when I went to air assault school, that was right when they had that big accident up in Newfoundland with the 101st coming back from Bright Star, or I think it was Bright Star, Egypt. They were coming back from Egypt and the whole plane went down.
Really?
Yeah. Myself, Matt Hoos was at Rappel Master course, and it was myself and a guy named Ken Hundemer. We were going through the air assault course, and it was funny because you had to have your pack on and everything else. You had to do push-ups and pull-ups with all that stuff on, and the Army dudes would half-ass it until the TV cameras were there.
Yeah, right.
And then once they were there, all of a sudden they were just jacking them, just pulling them out and everything else. But
yeah,
it was cold. It was December, but so I went at Shaw, we were Balo trainers, and then we kind of supported different people around we could support the 82nd, we could support Fort Stewart.
Yeah.
Wherever they needed a body, we would participate. But yeah, man, that was kind of like, and then I was there from 85 to 96. It was just a long time.
That's a long time. Yeah.
It is, I mean, I never really tried to go anywhere. I was just like, I was comfortable there.
Sure. I did the same thing. One of my assignments, I was at Benning for like 11 years. So I know what you mean. Hey, do you want to back up to Germany and talk about some of this stuff? Like something about the police blotter for not maintaining your animal.
Oh, yeah. I kind of forgot about that. I forgot about it just now. Yeah. So, while my tour in Germany, I helped the DYA, the Dependent Youth Activities.
Uh-huh.
So I would coach their baseball team. I coached their soccer team. If they needed rides, the different places, I would give rides. Well, one of the kids that played for me, he had a pet hamster
Okay.
or gerbil, one of the two, and he couldn't keep it. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll take it, and I took it back to the barracks. Well, then I had been over their house for dinner or something, and I come back and MPs are outside, filling out paperwork, and they're like, "Are you Airman Parks?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." You need to sign. I said, "What is it?" It's like failure to maintain your pet. I said, "What are you talking about?" So one of the guys decided he was going to stick his finger in the cage, and the gerbil bit him.
Oh.
And he went down to the medical unit to get looked at.
Yeah.
So
they reported it.
They reported it, and I went, "What do you mean failure to maintain?" Well, your hamster there bit the guy. I said, "What was he doing with it?" Well, he said he stuck his finger in the cage. I said, "Well, the hamster was defending himself. He shouldn't have stuck his finger in the cage."
Right.
But lo and behold, I made the post commander's police blotter for failure to maintain my pet. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, how is that your fault? I mean, what are you supposed to? You can't fix stupid. I mean, if the guy's going to stick his finger in there, that's on him.
That's what I mean. I said he should have been sticking his finger in the cage.
Right.
He was defending himself. He didn't know that guy.
Exactly.
It's like, needless to say, I had to find a home for it after that because and he's like, "Well, it might be rabbit." I went, "Seriously, dude, it's a hamster."
Right.
But it was funny, man.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put my notes up because I can't remember half the stuff.
No, I'll prompt you. Don't worry about it. I want to hear about all this stuff. Like, I want to hear about this. Like you rolled the van. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, holy smoke! Right. So we had from Illesheim, we had a basketball tournament in Crailsheim.
Okay.
So I drove the kids up there in the morning, and I was going back, to pick up the adults and give them a ride back. Well, so I mean, it had started snowing.
Yeah.
So I'm driving, I'm not super speeding. Luckily, I was the only person in the van.
Right.
But I'm driving along, and then all of a sudden, as I hit the top of the hill, the wind's blowing, and it blew snow and everything across the road. And it was kind of like an S turn, like a small S turn. But man, as soon as I hit it, I started sliding, and I'm trying to overcompensate. All of a sudden, next thing you know, I was like, boom, and I'm over in the ditch.
Oh,
Look,
man.
And the passenger side lines in the ditch, and I'm like up this way with the seatbelt, and I climbed out, and then somebody stopped and helped me call back. Of course, MPs show up, and everybody else shows up, and give me a ride back. And then I'm still there, and here comes another van full of all the players and everything else, and they're just looking at me. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?"
This could be you. Be
yeah,
careful.
but luckily, like I said, and then they said that I shouldn't have been driving that van in the first place because the bearings were jacked up on one of the wheel.
Oh, really?
The wheels, yeah. So I didn't get in trouble for excess speed or anything else. It was just it should have never been out on the road.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I said, luckily no kids were in the van. But
and
I tell you what, man,
were you on the back roads? You weren't on the Autobahn, right? You were like,
no, I was on the back roads.
Yeah,
no, I was
I mean, those back roads are weird over there. I mean, they're not. It's not like over here where they're kind of like straight lines. Like you were saying, it's like switchbacks, and could be a different type of road. I mean, it's not easy driving.
There's no like give on each side. It's like
right.
You have road, and then you have ditches
right.
and farmland and farm fields.
Yeah.
So luckily there was no cars coming, and I rolled it, but not that I was proud of it, but I mean, hey,
you survived it. And there's no kids in the car. That's the best thing, probably.
Yeah, man. Because those vans, you didn't have, the drivers had seatbelts,
right?
And like I said, I wasn't speeding. It was just one of those where you come up over the hill, and the only snow that's on the road is where it had basically dusted across it from the winds.
Yeah,
and that was it. But yeah, that was it.
Do you want to talk about Aussie carrier landings at all?
Oh yeah. So while I was in Germany, I started working at the NCO club as a bartender.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I got really good at making kamikaze drinks. So, because I was involved with the DYA, I knew a lot of the parents.
Right.
So much so that if I walked up, like the XO of one of the infantry battalions, I went over there to talk to him about his kids. and he's like, come on in, and just wave me in. And of course, I go in. He's a major,
Sure.
so I'm walking at parade rest, and he's like, relax, sit down, sit down. And then next thing you know, he's got like a couple officers, lieutenant captain outside his door. He's like, I'll be with you guys in a minute. You know,
Right.
okay, because I was just A1C at the time, and so I got to know him. So one of the aviation guys said, "Hey, you want to come bartend for us over at the Officers Club for the dining?" It was a dining. It started as a dining in for all the just for all the officers, because I guess they had Australia was there doing some training with them or something.
Oh, okay.
And then at the end of the night, I'm standing there, and they're like, "Whatever you see here, stays here." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Well, the statute of limitations is gone."
Right.
And I don't remember any names anyway. But then all
Sure.
of a sudden, their carrier landings started happening with all the officers, and then a couple of the wives showed up, and next they're drinking and they're in this bra and panties, and they're sliding down the tables. And
Talk about a
I'm just
carrier
going,
landing. I don't. Some people might not know what that
oh,
is.
so carrier landings, and of course there's a bunch of aviation guys. I guess I don't know where the tradition started, but they pour beer across tables or alcohol or whatever across tables, and they run and they just almost like a slip and slide, and they just slide, just slide down, and
Yeah.
now whether nakedness and everything else comes to play, I don't, I didn't partake. I just stood there and watched it, just going, okay, cool.
It had to be crazy. Like to you. I mean, you alluded to it before, but you were like an A1C amongst all these high-ranking officers and their wives, and it
Warrant
just had to be.
officers and everybody else and their wives. I'm just like going,
It had to be
I was
crazy.
like Sergeant Schultz. I see nothing. I see nothing.
Right.
Because I kept it to myself.
Sure.
This is like the first time I'm actually talking about it in public.
Nice.
I wasn't scarred or anything.
All right. So fast forward back to Shaw.
Okay, was that all
Yeah,
my stories from Germany that I kind of talked about? Because
yeah,
that's the only ones
yeah. I think that's it. That was there
Yeah.
was the two big ones.
Yeah, no, so I think I left a lot of some of the stuff I did at Shaw too, because that was kind of
Well, wait. So
wasn't
did
sure.
you? I mean, you said typical Cold War era deployments. Did you go any place cool like on deployments from Germany?
Well, we had being over in Germany at the time, the Cold War's going on, so we had our Mark 107s,
Right.
we had APCs, we had one APC and one 113 in our shop. Well, we would deploy up to, they called it the Chemnitz Bowl. So that was their AO, and they would explain it like, yeah, and we still had Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia
Right. Right.
actually still exist. And the wall was still there, the
Yep.
border was all the way down. So, that was pretty much, I never actually, I've made it to Grafenwehr and Vilsec more as a civilian than I did when I was in there. I never did Graf. Yeah. I never, I never really did Reforger.
Because that wasn't your guys' AO. Like that was more those guys down there. Is that
Well,
why?
it was sort of like, I guess because we were there, we didn't participate in Reforger. I guess that was just something for bringing everybody over.
Oh, okay.
For the deployment of bringing guys in from, I guess, Fort Hood and and Fort Riley and wherever their armored divisions were at the time, and their, mech infantry, to bring them over to go through the whole process of being, ship all their stuff out, have it flown over or whatever, and then come over and pick it all up and move out. So, we had our AO, and really we would just go up to different locations, and a lot of times we didn't move. We parked it there, and we never really, very rarely did we kind of like jump from one spot to another spot. We were 1st Brigade, 1st Armored Division. I was with the infantry at one time, the 1st of the 6th Infantry, and then I was, I think I did 1st of the 137 or something.
Okay.
Out of Krailsheim.
Was it more of like a show of force to the other side or something, or what? Like, what was the purpose?
We would just train as if we were expecting, if the war breaks out, this is where they're going to come through. This, all routes led to this.
Oh, okay.
Like choke point, and we were there waiting for this choke point to stop them. The massive hordes of armor
right.
from the big red Soviet Union and Czech Republic and everybody else that come across the border. So that was our point, to hold that line right there.
Oh, okay.
So that was pretty much, yeah, never really went anywhere. I wish I had somebody, because back then the mark to the dollar, before the euro was like 4-1.
Yeah.
So there was dudes buying BMWs, Mercedes, Porsches with American specs and having them shipped back to the States.
Yeah.
And going right to the the manufacturers and put the specifications down, and it would go over there and save us so much money on it.
Yep.
But you could go to France, Belgium, all these different places for 3 days and 2 nights for 97, like $70.
Yeah.
But you never want to just do it by yourself.
Right.
I just, so I stayed local, and I played soccer with a German team and played soccer with the Army team, and you traveled around that way. But it'd have been nice if I had somebody that, like, hey, let's go do this,
Sure.
and go to France or go to Italy or go to Switzerland or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cheap back then.
Yeah. I mean, I was the same way. When I was in Germany, I didn't, until my family came over. They came over to visit and do like a kind of a European tour thing. I was the same way. I just kind of I was down at Vilsack. We just hung out in Graf and just, did local stuff there.
I live 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes from the beach. And my wife and I spent more time here on the beach when we were just vacationing here than we do now.
Right. Exactly.
But I do remember all the, like, a lot of the Army guys were stupid. They go up into Amsterdam, buy weed or buy hash, because it was just, or they'd smoke it there and then come across, and the first thing they're doing is get piss tested when they get back, or they would buy it. And my understanding was the guys that own the shops would inform the police that, these guys had
really?
on the bus. And
Wow.
then not only did they get the money, but I heard they got their stash back. I don't know. I bet that was the story. That was the rumor I heard.
That's yeah.
That was the rumor I heard. Of, like, so why would you want to go up there and it just, I mean, it's beautiful enough as it is.
Right.
Why do you? But
why risk it? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you risk your life.
Yeah.
Risk your career and everything else.
Yep.
But yeah. So Shaw, I got there at 85. We would do like mountain flag was, I had Lacey Foley and Dan Smith. They were two of the biggest country boys ever. And Lacey was one of the original instructors.
Okay.
From the 304 career field.
Wow.
And then he was at Shaw, but he loved going to the mountains and fishing. So he created mountain flags. So we would take guys and we start opening it up to other people and other units that come up, and, we would just, it's like camping, but we would also do training and control air from the mountains and from top of the mountains. And of course we had back then we had the O2 Skymaster, the Duck.
Yeah.
Was our squadron, and they would fly up there and we just aerial stuff. But we had Little Lost Cove Cliffs. I remember it's kind of funny because they were coming up the valley, and as they came over top of us, about 4 of us mooned them, just basically dropped trowel and we're going to mark our spot, and basically moon them. But we were told, like, be careful of the marijuana fields, and we're like, because we were doing cross country navigation and everything else, and like we come across, avoid it, because a lot of times between, I guess, the corn, they'd have marijuana plants. And what they like to do is they like to rig booby traps, sawed-off shotguns down at ankle level,
Yeah.
and then
I've heard about
wires.
that, yeah.
Yeah, so that was all through that, like, kind of that mountainous region, and it was just, but we did some rappelling off of the Blue Ridge Parkway until the park rangers were like, you can't be doing that, because then other people get the idea. We're like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But beautiful country, man, up there around Grandfather Mountain and Linville Gorge. Just seeing it going across country and not just sticking to the trails.
Right.
It was really fun. I mean, I had a blast doing that stuff. We did a wintertime, we did a summertime, we did a lot of HF. We do shots from there down to Panama or down to MacDill, and then get a landline back to Shaw, and then make a call off base.
That's awesome.
So we do stuff like that, but it was a fun time. I mean, you couldn't beat it to me.
Yeah.
We played Op 4 on base. We had more ammo than you could imagine. We did one. We were battling security forces, and we had, I forget how we got it, but we borrowed we looked like Rat Patrol. We had a 60 on an open Jeep. And we could just ride around and just,
Yeah.
It just, I mean, it felt like Rat Patrol. For those
Sure.
that don't know, it's an old show from the, about World War II. So we had one of those. Well, we did an attack and we were coming back and we didn't realize we weren't in the play area. Our squadron was, because we had the 21st task, and then we had the 703rd, which was the CH-3 helicopter squadron, and we got a lot of jumps out of.
Okay.
They were right next to it. That was not in the play area
Oh,
that we weren't aware of. So we come back, and it was like Jason Vaughn, myself, Gary Broussard. Man, I wish I could remember. I think Jim DeMeo may have still been there. So we had all these 30-round magazines stacked up on the table, like, by 3 and 4 stacks, we'd already racked all this stuff up because
sure.
Gary was, I don't know if you remember Gary, but the crazy Cajun, he looked at the way the reg set, was every pilot was to have X amount of rounds, both blanks and live rounds, along with so many purple smokes, green smokes, red smokes, and so on. So he went, okay, well, we have 100 officers and we have, 10 dudes. So we need, dude, we had an arsenal
Yeah.
for exercises.
Yeah.
We had artillery simulators and hand grenade simulators. It was crazy, man, because we, we'd be out in Alpha Moa or Charlie Moa. Plane would come in, do a dry run, and then we would fire off some, hand grenade simulators, artillery simulators, and they would see smoke and freak out. They, what? Did something drop off? Because they were going to the range afterwards.
Okay.
I'm like, no. We've got, this on the ground for, just for simulation.
They thought they pickled something
cool.
off.
And then they would really get back into it, and then they would get into it. They knew we had stuff on the ground. And then of course we got where we would be by a stream and we'd be tying them to a rock and throwing them in the water. See how, we could kill some fish or go over there. But so we were reconstituting, getting ready for the next attack, which we had downtime. All of a sudden, somebody walked out back and said, "Hey, the peacekeepers out back, they're drawing down on the building." So we just go in there, like, everybody's locking load. Now we just, and what was funny was it was our understanding was they were getting calling back saying, "Hey, we've located, the bad guys. Are we cleared to engage?" And as they were getting the no, they're not in the play area, we go, we just start shooting and just waylaying on them, and they start returning fire, and there's brass going all over the flight line, and because they were on that side. And we're basically, I went out the front door, couples went out the front door and went around the squadron and come up and got behind them, and we're just firing and just, so he's like, ceasefire, this ain't the play area, stop. Then we're out there picking up brass and doing a little fog check, because it was right behind the squadron. But all the pilots come bailing out going, what the hell's going on? And we're like, go. We're all just shooting crap all over the place. And it was fun, man. We had some great Op 4 stuff, because then I ended up being with the Wing XP. I go to their meetings, and the guy that was the security police guy, he says to his commander, he goes, "What would you do if you lost half your force in one attack?" And the commander's like, "Oh, it'll never happen." Well, what if, sir?
Yeah.
Didn't believe it, didn't want to, listen to it. So we had a plan, and I don't know if you ever, got to Shaw back in the 80s or the 90s, but Security Forces building was right in the middle of all the barracks.
Okay.
And if you were going up to the back gate from the, because from the main intersection, if you go towards the back gate, it was right there. The library and the pizza parlor were right across the street. So, and it was facing the back of their building. So the plan was we had dudes on both sides of the building, and we had 260s, and we were going to engage them with the 260s to kick off the battle. And we had one on the roof of the pizza parlor library and one in the bushes down below. We all had hand grenade simulators. We had all, artillery simulators, all like 30-round magazines of crap. And 2 a.m. shift change. Dudes are they're getting their weapons. They haven't got their magazines yet. They're turning in their weapons. And we just, as soon as we heard Gary Broussard on the 60, boop, 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 all hell broke loose at 2 a.m. in the morning. Simulators going off on both. Guys are they're just scattering all over the place. They're running the fire on the left side, running the fire on the right side, running the fire behind the building. We had people all through the barracks. We were pissing everybody off because it was loud. It was so, dude,
I
it
was
was
just
so
gonna
loud.
say, like, you could never get away with that now. Like, there would be so many. Oh, you would get hemmed up by somebody.
It was so loud that they heard it downtown Sumter and were calling local, you know, the local news and the police department say, "What's going on at Shaw Air Force Base? Is it under?" And they're like, "It's an exercise going on." Oh man, we had people coming out of barracks yelling at us. I mean, dude, we had smoke. We had smoke going through their building
That's awesome.
because we had that much smoke in the area. And there was a guy he had a nice sports car, like an old like muscle car,
Yeah.
out in the parking lot. Somebody like popped rounds and we're hitting his in the metal. Ding 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 ding. Yeah, didn't realize it at the time.
Sure.
Oops. But the guy comes and he's got the back door of the peacekeeper because there's a dude down, like on the side, and this guy Jim Keener, he was dressed in civilian clothes.
Yeah.
And he's walking in there like, "Get back, we're under attack." And he goes, "Satchel charge," and he tosses an old map bag that we had made up as a satchel charge and tossed it in the vehicle and ran away. And they're like, oh, it's bullshit. And they're screaming and crying and everything else.
Yeah.
And they get pissed off and all the time. It's like you're not learning,
right?
Because you got to learn from this. We offered. I mean, I was in charge of para ops. I could have airframes. I'm like, "Hey, do you guys want to get your 44-man team practice, deploying it? I'll bring a C-130 in or 141 in, pick you guys up, air land you at North Field. You guys can go set up. We're going to take back off and go around and jump in, and then we'll attack."
Sure.
No, we don't want to do that. Like, it gives you a chance to practice your mobility. It gives us a mass tack,
right?
Because we're going to jump with weapons and equipment. Didn't want to do it. And then they started playing on the opposite side in the tree line. And I would say, "Well, do you guys, I can get a couple of helicopters come, pick you guys up, fly you around, drop you at the other end of the field. You guys can clear through the woods, coming back, just practicing clearing the area around your camp. And then we'll attack you." And we'll go, "No, we don't do that." I'm like, "Man, you guys are killing me." Because we have all these, and I told them, I said, "We have all these assets that we can help you with." They never wanted to. I mean, we would jump in the North Field all the time, and we would, we had the DZ up in Alpha Moa up north.
Mm-hmm.
We would jump up there near the Fox DZ right by Wateree. We got our water jumps on on Lake Wateree.
Right.
I mean, it was a blast. I mean, CH3 jumps were cool. I don't know if you ever got a chance to jump out of one of those.
A couple of them.
Yeah. We had a captain who was in charge. He was like the wing safety guy. He was also a pilot out of the squadron. He was like, "I'm 90 days. I'm at 90 days. Can I get on a jump? Get on a jump." We're like, "Well, all right, sir. Well, we have to. Oh, come on, man. Just let me get on the jump. I'll jump equipment. Blah 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 blah." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." Because he was like right at like 90, a half a day over. I was like, "Do I really got to go put it through all the the refresher training? And hang in a harness and give us some PLFs outside?"
Right.
We were like, "Okay." We let him slide. So I'm on the ground. I jumped, past before that. And did you ever meet Robert Scotty? He still halos, or he still free falls, and I think he's in his 70s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's still, he bounced one time in his 60s or 70s and he survived, and he's still jumping.
Wow.
Yeah, he jumped in the Grenada back. He was with the Rangers back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Jumped in the Grenada. Yeah. And so he's on the ground as, doing drop zone control, and we got a 4-stick. And then back then the anchor line cable was on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And you would attach in, and then you had your
like a reverse bite kind of
reverse bite to go out the door. Well, back then we had the H harnesses, so they just kind of dangled there.
Right.
And first jumper goes out, second jumper goes out, third jumper goes out. Third jumper goes out. Where'd the third jumper go? So his rucksack was so light. He instead of doing 35 pounds, he put a pillow in it or something. So and he had too much. He had excess in his hand. So as soon as he got out, he let the static line go. It went out and made a big loop. Well, as he's going out the door, his ruck comes up and the static line goes around his ruck, and it goes smack. It smacks him right in the face. Now he's swinging below the helicopter,
Oh my
2,000
God.
feet. Luckily, there was a sergeant first class riding along, who was an old SF dude, with this unit that we kind of linked up with, over from McIntyre area.
Mhm.
He, the loadmaster was just going to cut the dude away. Pulled out his thing. Goes, whoa, whoa, whoa! We got to check on him first, because wasn't an inexperienced jump master, but a young jump master.
Sure.
And he looked, and he wasn't like trying to make an assessment. Well, he went to cut him away. He's like, no, you can't cut him away till we see. Well, he would have never got a reserve, because his equipment was up in his face.
Oh, okay.
So they made a decision. We're going to air land with him. So helicopters coming around and getting less and less altitude. And as they're coming in, they're slowing down. Well, you can't see him, but he's like basically a slow spiral. And as he gets, and Scotty's bringing the helicopter, and he's waving it down to land and slow down, and and they're about just enough off the ground that he swings one more time. Now the static line comes from around his equipment, and now he's falling.
Oh no.
And his chute's deploying.
Oh.
And as his chute's deploying, it's catching air and going this way into the blades, and Scotty's like, get out of here. And
Oh my God, that could have been horrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bad for everybody. And he hits the ground, boom, and he's laying there. And I always reference Sergeant Halka being knocked off the tower.
Right.
It's like, this was the captain laying on the ground, and then he turned around and tried to write us up for letting him jump when he should have been, But karma is a mofo.
Yeah.
Because he was dating, and she was hot. She was smoking. She was senior airman. She was in public affairs. She was a photographer. She'd come out to the jumps. Now we know why she was out of the jumps. They were dating. Well, she broke up with him, and he lost his shit, man. He went into his vest, took his 38 out, and went over there and fired several rounds drunk. I guess he was drunk and fired several rounds into her front yard. End of an Air Force career, like that, over a piece of tail, man.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was crazy, man.
So this guy was a piece of work.
And it is sad. I mean, and we had some other guys. They only jumped every 90 days, and you would get out, and we dropped streamers, so we knew. I mean, because you were practicing for Jump Fest,
right? Yeah, exactly. Right.
Because these was elevator after elevator after elevator.
Yeah.
And I remember one jump. So at the time that my first wife was watching this jump, I was like, man, my stomach's upset. I said, I'm going to jump. I said, hopefully I don't shit my pants. Well, when I landed to do PLF, I shit my pants.
Oh.
I was like, oh. So I'm laying, I get up, I walk back, like, unbeknownst to anybody.
Yeah.
I drop my stuff. I said, come on, take me to the barracks. Why? I said, I shit my pants.
Yeah, that's something you don't let everybody know about.
No, I just
You're like, I gotta go for no reason.
Yeah, I got bye. Yeah, I gotta catch you. I'll catch you guys later. It was like one of the last. I gotta go. I hurt my back.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, I shit my pants on that one. It's like one of those things where it's like one of the. Did you ever do this? Yep, one time.
Yeah. Speaking of that, tell me about this Broussard thing with the for the SEER training.
Yeah, so we got involved doing OPFOR for the base survival guys.
Okay.
So we go out to Fort Jackson. They get the area assigned off to do escape and evasion with the pilots.
Mm-hmm.
And we were out there to catch them and just mess with them a little bit and let them on the way. And honestly, we're lucky we didn't kill somebody or seriously injure somebody besides ourselves for some of the stupid stuff we did.
Yeah.
Because one time we caught a guy and we had him bagged, and we lit an artillery simulator and just let it kind of like sit on his nose till it started to whistle, and then we threw it. Thank God we trusted it, because it would have. I mean, it would have went off in his face. Whoever, one person was going to have a nub. So I don't know how they put handcuffs on him after a while.
Right.
The pilot, because he would have blown his face off.
Oh,
But yeah. So Gary Broussard, I don't know where. Being Gary Broussard is crazy. God bless him. I love this guy, man, because he come up with some crazy stuff. But he decided his two little boys, he was going to feed them certain foods. And when they would make a shitty diaper, he would save it and put it in the back of his trunk in a plastic bag.
that's gross.
Right. And I mean, I don't know how long these things have fermented in there.
Oh God.
But he held them. And of course, South Carolina in the summertime, and that heat. Oh man, that was, it was, I tell you what, if you could, make that into some sort of, chemical weapon, I mean, it would literally probably knock some people out.
Right.
But we catch this guy, we bag him, we're asking him questions, he's not answering. So Gary takes the bag, he doesn't put it on his head because it's a garbage bag, but because he's got a cloth bag over him, he just sticks it up onto his face, and all of a sudden the guy's like, and he starts gagging really bad, and then of course he did it like twice to him, and then we lit off a simulator and the guy ran off. But man, that's
horrible.
Yeah, that was some of we had one time where we were set up, and there was like a coalition camp that they had to get to. So Gary's there speaking Cajun French. So we captured him. He's speaking Cajun French to him. We had one person speaking Greek to him, not us, but just different people that were participating.
Yeah.
To where this one captain who was bagged, he's like, I'm American, because nobody was speaking English to him.
Right.
Like, Gary starts hitting him up with Cajun French. Then let this female speak Greek to him. Another person spoke German to him. Spanish. It was just like hitting them with different languages, and and he just I'm American. I'm just American. And but yeah, that's like I said, we're lucky we got we didn't get in worse trouble, because I don't know if you saw the pictures. I said we were going to do OP4 against this army unit out below the bombing range out there and around the Poinsett Park area, just south of Poinsett Range.
Mm-hmm.
So myself and Jason Vaughn, we go in one of our 107s in the Jeep. We're driving down this dirt road, like try to figure out where we were going to lay up and see where they were going to kind of set their stuff up. All of a sudden, I start slipping and sliding, and I'm stuck. And we're deep in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So now the Jeep is halfway in, like halfway in the water in the muck, on the side. So since I got it stuck, I'm walking up to the main, out to the main dirt road, out to the main road, and going into the town just south of there to call back to Shaw to get them to come out and get us out.
Yeah.
So I get a ride in. On my way back out, I'm hitchhiking. I'm in uniform. I'm hitchhiking. This lady picks me up in her truck with her kid, and I said, I just need a ride up the road. She's like, you're not going to kill me, are you? I'm like, really? Like, now's not the time to ask me if I'm going to kill you.
It's too late for that.
I just said, no, ma'am. I just need a ride up to the road because we're stuck in the mud and we're waiting for some people to pick us up. And so they bring in two Blazers, two old Cut V's, and the one stops short of us. Bob Wilfong, he takes the other one down to the T intersection to turn around and come back to us, and he gets stuck.
Oh man.
So now he's stuck at the end of the road. The Jeep's stuck. So we're like, what are we going to do? So they go out and come back with a wrecker from the ASOC. And the other Cut V's leading it in. They're backing it down the road. It gets stuck in the mud.
I knew it.
So now, Jeep, let's get bigger. Cut V, now wrecker. I mean, it was a 2-ton wrecker, one of the big ones. So it's not close enough to get, but we got to get it out. It's not close enough to get it, the winch to the Jeep. So we're trying to, they get another wrecker to come out. It breaks the front winch. So in the meantime, Jason Vaughn grabs the back winch and goes into the swamp to tie it around. Let's go out and get a big tree, lock it off and see if we can pull this out, at least get this out of the mud first.
Yeah.
Well, now we got the wrecker, we got the good cut V. All of a sudden, we're cranking up the winch, cranking up the winch, cranking up the winch. All of a sudden, here's trees now down between the good cut V and the wrecker.
Jeez.
Now our road out is we're blocked. So what are we gonna do? So it's getting late, it's getting dark, and we're like, it's like 10 o'clock at night. We go down to the because I initially went down to the T intersection, but it looked all flooded. And I'm like going, well, I don't know how deep it is.
Yeah.
So I'll just go back up the other way and go around. Now that's our only way out. So it was like chasing two dudes that just broke out of prison, running in front of the vehicle in the lights, and we're running in the water, like running through the water, make sure there's no big drop offs.
Sure.
To get out to the other side. And we all drive back. Well, they made arrangements to come out the next day to get us out. Well, we went back in figuring we got to go back out to the vehicles. In the meantime, as we're going past this house, this girl's getting in a Jeep. And we're like, hey, do you by chance have anything that can help pull us out? We've been stuck in the mud, last night. She brings us, come along, goes over, attaches it to the tree and the blazer, crank, blazer's out. She drives up the road, crank, Jeep's out. So our vehicles are now out of the mud, and we're just kind of out there. They end up, the ASOC had to get a tank retriever from Fort Jackson, brought down there on a flatbed, 18-wheeler, back down there to pull their wreckers out.
Jeez.
But it was a comedy, dude. It was like a comedy of errors that day. That
girl was a hero.
Yeah, she was. And it's like some redneck chick that lived in the backwoods. But it hooked us up big time.
Nice.
And it's like we never got a name because we just hey, appreciate it.
It's not like you can give an email or phone
if
or number.
If I could do anything, is go out there and bring her a case of beer or what, right. But yeah, it was that was just kind of like one thing after another.
Yeah.
We ended up playing out for that weekend that they came out, but it was just kind of funny, man. One vehicle after another vehicle after another vehicle.
Yeah, it's bad when you get the recovery vehicle or the wrecker stuck.
Yeah,
I mean, that's bad.
Oh yeah, man. All three, like everything, had to go bigger and bigger and bigger till we got everybody out. It was just funny, and then all it took was a little come along to get the smaller vehicles out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, man. I tell you what, we had a lot of fun. We did, like I said, I did some crazy things. I'm surprised I didn't get in trouble.
Oh yeah.
I was dating this one girl who had been dating an officer. Now she was a senior airman, or she was a sergeant. I was senior airman. She claims she broke up with the lieutenant. Now she's kind of giving me the brush off a little bit. And I'm like, wondering what's going on. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, I got to go do this weekend. Well, I saw her car parked out by this one intersection, by this, abandoned building. And I'm like, are you serious? Me and Ken Hunter, we were driving Rick McDermott's truck. He let us use his truck. So we were coming back from Columbia that day. Mm-hmm. And I saw it and I said, so I think we were day drinking that day. So I said, hey, I'm going to camo up and I'm going to go back out there and scare the shit out of her when she comes back. You want to go with me? You're like, I'll go with you, but I ain't camoing up.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I get in Rick's truck. I'm now all camoed up, and I'm like going, I'm going to see what happens. Well, I got there just as her and the lieutenant were coming back from whatever trip they were on. And so I watched him get in his, her get out, get in her car. He was in his BMW. So as he heads to Columbia, I pull out behind him. I'm camoed up and everything. I pull up next to him and I'm like, hey, pull over. I wasn't like screaming at pull over. I was like, pull over. And he pulls over. Stupid as him. He pulls over.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like this was an old beater truck with the front end had a bunch of damage to it. So he pulls over. I say, we need to talk. So he jumps in the truck with me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, listen, this ain't cool. What she's doing between the two of us. So I'm not gonna deal with her anymore.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to date. I'm not gonna, blah blah blah. He goes, yeah, me neither. I said, okay, because I'm gonna go tell her that tonight. I didn't realize there was a machete under the front seat, and I think he saw it when he got in the truck. I didn't know. I never looked under Rick's front seat. So needless to say, he leaves. I go back and tell her. I said, yeah, I saw you were out so and so this weekend. Yeah, I don't want. And then she goes, I already know you and you're crazy. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we broke up.
Yeah.
and then there was another time where Hunter and I were coming back. It seemed like Ken and I were roommates at the time. We're coming back from Columbia, and I can't remember Dave's last name, but he was a life support guy. Him and Dan DeBruzzi had picked up these two girls, Asian girls, at the NCO club.
Okay.
And we're calling like, hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing? It's like Dave goes, hey, I think it was Dave. Pull me aside. He goes, hey man, we're trying to make it with these two chicks. Don't mess it up for us. Oh man, I'm not gonna do anything. No, yeah, it's all good. Well, go in the barracks. We hit the head, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna grab a machete. I'm gonna duck down by this inside door of the barracks. You let me know when they're coming in. I'm gonna jump up, scare shit out of them. So I'm ducked down by the inside door. This is on the third floor. Ken's peeking, like he's got one eye around the corner of the dorm room, and here they come. I hear the first door open up. As soon as I hear the second door open, I jump up and go, ah! Those two chicks were down the stairs faster than you could imagine, man. And we're rolling on the floor, and now Dave's pissed.
Yeah.
I'm like,
he just ruined it for him.
Dude. I said, you should have never said anything to me.
Right. That's the first. That's number one rule. Don't say anything. Number one
rule. If you would have never said anything to me, challenge accepted.
Right. Wouldn't even cross my mind.
I was going upstairs to go crash, but then, you turn around and say, don't mess this up for us.
Yeah. Okay. I'm definitely going to mess this
up. But now you made me think, what can I do to mess it up?
Right.
Light bulb, boop.
I think I'm more concerned about the availability of machetes around your area. Like, that's the second story.
You couldn't have guns in the barracks, so you had to have something.
Good point. That's a good point.
Oh yeah, but that was some of the, And then there was the one time I grabbed a female friend of mine, and it was raining, pouring out rain, and it had flooded next to the barracks. So I ran up drunk to the NCO club. I'm like, hey, come on, let's go. And she come with me, and I'm like, let's go skinny dipping. So we take off all our clothes and went swimming in the flooded area next to the barracks. I would say I was proud of it, but it was just kind of funny. It was just, it's a funny thing to do.
I mean, it speaks of things that were done at that time. Like that was the time of, the military, whatever you want to call it. But at that point of time, you could get away with all that stuff. You can imagine doing it now; it'd be crazy. You'd be kicked out in hard.
Dude, don't get me started, because I'm around it. I mean, with what I do currently, I'm sure we'll get into that. I'm around it all the time.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's just a totally different, dude. It's totally different,
completely different.
I don't understand how it functions. Honestly,
I don't either,
because it's not. I mean, I used to remember guys saying to me, "Well, I can't wait till they make pot legal," and I'm like, you're not gonna be able to smoke it.
Yeah,
well, if it's legal, I'm like, no. I said, dude, I hate to remind you of this, but when you signed up to defend the Constitution, you lost your constitutional rights.
Pretty much, right?
I said, we're not a democracy here. There's going to be things that we have to do. We're not going to like doing them, but we have to do them, and we got to do them a specific way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not. I mean, you can make suggestions all you want, but at the end of the day, I'll probably tell you, no, we're not going to do it that way.
Right.
And there's gonna be times where I'm gonna have to tell you to do something, and my language, can you imagine being the jump master? Go. Well, can we think about this for a minute? Because I need to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so weird how like now it's back when you and I came in, it was you conformed to the standard. Like it was like everybody, you better start looking the same, or we all had similar haircuts, and we all looked. Now it's like we're catering to the individual, and I mean that's great for outside. That's great for the civilian world, maybe. But for the military, that's like directly against what the military is all about.
Yeah. Exactly, because I mean, I remember one time, um, Mark Villella, Mike Grilly walked in on leave with maybe like a 2 or 3 day beard
Yeah.
into the 14th. He's like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you shaving?" Well, I'm gonna leave. He goes, "No, 24/7. You need
Right.
to be. You don't." He goes, "Don't ever step in this building again unshaven." Okay,
And
go
that was
home.
the way, and that was gospel. You did it. You didn't. We weren't like, well, I have a waiver, or you're hurting my feelings. Or it was like, no, he told you to do it, so you go do it.
And
Yeah.
now, I mean, I see dudes with beards,
Yeah.
and they're like unkept. It's all growing in their neck, and I'm like, what? Well,
It's
they have.
weird.
I've never. I'm sorry, but I've never seen a white dude with a shaving waiver. I understood black guys because they
Yeah.
had the. I forget what they called it,
Yeah. To get those bumps or
pseudofolliculitis,
yeah.
or the bumps or something.
Yep.
And I got that. That was.
Sure.
I mean, we knew about that in basic training. I
Right.
mean, I remember when I was in my flight. He put a special shaving cream on, and he had to use for turning, like you were like
Yeah, it's like a wooden
mixing bowl.
dowel almost. It was kind of like
Yeah,
something or
yeah,
other.
yeah. He couldn't use, yeah, because if I use this, it'll turn in, and it'll get worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all he was doing was just basically like taking a batter knife and just
Right.
pulling it off his face. I was like, wow, man,
Yeah,
but
that guy,
yeah,
and that's a good
again,
point. I mean, guys, it was like people don't understand that it wasn't just for guys like us we could just use a razor and there's no big deal, but it was a serious thing for guys like that they couldn't do that and they had to have it was like the stuff they put on. It was almost like hair removal, and then they had to scrape it
yeah,
off, and yeah, it was a big
yeah.
deal.
It wasn't Nair. It was like Nair for men, or
Right, or
something. I
something
mean,
like that. Yeah,
it was just that was like a paste and stuff, but
yeah,
you know, and I'm like. I said, they better not say they're Amish or Mennonite, because Amish and Mennonites are against war, so you can't be in the military in the first place.
right.
You know, they're Vikings, they're Nordic. That's why I'm
Yeah,
like, yeah, okay, whatever. Till Valhalla to everybody.
right, right.
I mean, I just, I see, I couldn't, I never could grow really a mustache.
Hmm.
I could never really grow a beard. There's women that grow better beards than me. As a matter of fact, our old first sergeant, when I was at Shaw, this is like, I've been there a few years now. I'm now a buck sergeant, and
Yeah,
first sergeant Wilson he was a master sergeant, came from security police. He'd walk out and bum cigarettes off people all day long, and I'd walk outside. I'm like, Top, what are you doing bumming cigarettes off the airmen?
yeah,
You should be giving them cigarettes.
right.
He looks at me. I'm like, I said, that's pretty cheap of you, because they know they can't turn you down.
Right. That's the whole point of not, yeah, for anything, a chew, a drink, whatever it is.
Yeah,
That's why you don't do that,
yeah, yeah. I would just mess with him that way. But
Sure,
one day
sure.
I walked out there, and I said, Top, I got a question for you. And he always knew something was coming.
Right.
And he's like, what's the question, Gary? I said, okay. And I forget the reg back. It wasn't 3510. It was some other number
Yeah, yeah.
about grooming and everything else. I said, if I'm going to grow a mustache, I got to have it, to the edges of my mouth, right? Yeah. Yeah. He's like, yeah. I said, and if I have sideburns, I can only come down so far on air. He's like, yeah, where are you going with this?
Right.
I said, how come Sergeant so-and-so doesn't have her mustache to the edge of her mouth? And everybody's like, oh, and he's like, you did. I said, I'm serious. I said, I can't grow a mustache. I'm
Right.
jealous. I said, and I said, and it looks like she could curl it up like Dick Dastardly and do a handlebar mustache. And he's like, Airman Parks. Oh, he's like, sorry, and I just kind of walked away. I think I saw her 3 days later. All that was waxed off.
Oh, really? That's
And
hilarious.
I never, I mean, she passed me in the hallway, so I don't know if somebody said, hey, you might want to clean this up.
Yeah.
I don't, or said, hey, did you hear what Park said about you?
Right. Oh.
I just was like, I was just making a joke. I didn't,
Yeah.
but it was just funny because seriously, there's women that can grow better mustaches and beards than me. But yeah, man. So Shaw was, like I said, I was there 11 years. That was my first like radio gig plus strip bar DJ gig plus
Yeah.
bouncer at a strip bar, and yeah, I did a lot of stuff, but I always tried to include people.
Mhm.
Like I never would be like out and say, "Oh, guess what I did this weekend."
Right.
I always would like if I could get somebody that hey, you want to go do this with me, or hey, I could get you free tickets, or I'd give you a shout out on the radio or something.
Yeah.
So hey, are you guys up? What do you guys drinking, partying, whatever? Hey, you want to hear a song? I'll shout it out. I'll throw it out to you because it was always about hooking somebody up with something if I could,
Right.
you know. And I don't know. I remember I remember one time it was and you may have heard about it. We had the Beat Massacre when I was stationed. At Shaw. We had Villela came down. I think Art Dunnier came down from Bragg to go out and party, and
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of us were out. We went up to this. We went up to 5 Points in Columbia, and we're drinking, we're partying, and then we found this punk bar. They had a band, so we all walked in the back door, and the band was out there like, "Hey, you can't come in." So yeah, okay, yeah, that's cool. And we just walked in. we walked in the back door, didn't pay to be there.
Yeah.
So we're just hanging out, and Bobby Urkel was there, Ken Hundemer, Gary Broussard was even there,
Okay.
and Mike Berman, and I'm trying to think who else. We had Jim DeMeo was there. We were all in this club. Well, then these dudes start moshing, and they weren't just like bouncing off each other. They were like goose stepping and kicking people.
Sure.
So I went and kicked one dude in the ass. I was pissed. Like, oh, I'll show you how they did it in Germany. I kicked him in the ass. Well, then him and I square up. We're fighting.
Yeah.
And they break us up. And his girlfriend's like, stop fighting, stop fighting. Well, then she's standing next to Bobby Urkel. And I look, and she's got the long ass ponytail. And I remember the band. His band was called Tex and the Horseheads. And chicks up there with lingerie on, saying, rah, rah, screaming and everything else. Well, I reached back around Bobby and I snatched this chick's, ponytail. Oh, and she looks at Bobby. Bobby's like, what? And then she saw me stand next to him, and she come at me.
Oh,
And she's fighting me and trying to choke me and everything else. And then it just broke into a big fight. Huge fight. Waylay. And what was funny was coming out of that whole thing. So Gary Broussard was in the bathroom the whole time.
Okay.
And he comes out and goes, oh shit. And he was the highest ranking dude at the time. He's like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
But I was standing there and fighting, and all of a sudden this guy spun me around, and I didn't recognize him as one of our guys. I hit him. Didn't realize I had knocked him out with one punch.
Yeah. Who was it?
This dude named Ash.
Oh, you didn't know who it was?
I had no idea who he was.
Okay.
All I know is we were fighting different dudes, and if I didn't know you, and then you came at me, you were getting punched.
Sure.
Everybody was punching somebody.
Sure.
Well, I didn't know who this guy was, and I hit him, and then I just kept doing my thing. And I guess his friend said he went and fell over.
You must have hit him around the jaw.
I guess I hit him just right. But it's funny because they knew a bunch of people. They were they were in the Air Force. They didn't realize we were in the Air Force. They thought we were Army. So they were talking about it, like, man, that dude, man, he goes, I've never been hit so hard in my life. They're telling me this story now because I became friends with them. So they're I guess I'm coming out of the Safe Credit Union. They're walking in, and I went, hey, how's it going? And I just kept walking. I had heard a couple of the guys lived in Sumter, and one buddy goes, Ash, you knew who that was? He's like, no. He goes, that's the dude that knocked you out. And they're like, oh shit, he's in the Air Force. So now they're like, oh no, he's here with us. And we happened to have a jump fest that weekend. It was finished up.
Yeah.
And Jim DeMeo had his fiance and her family in town. We were all down at this one bar partying in Sumter. And I'm up at the bar, and these two guys come up and go, hey, how's it going? I'm like, hey, doing all right. How you doing? He goes, you remember us? I went, no. You remember the big fight at the Beat? And I was thinking, oh, these are the two guys that are from Sumter. Didn't know they were Air Force. I said, yeah. And I went like this, and they were like, no, we don't want to fight.
No, we're good.
We don't want to fight. We don't fight. So they had gone around and telling everybody, don't mess with that dude. Don't mess with that dude. So I got, for some reason, I didn't know that I had that reputation until somebody told me about it, because now I'm bouncing at this pool hall for some friends. And there was this other guy. He was like the local, like, you didn't want to, there was two Turkish families called the Oxendines, and I can't remember the other one, but they were like the local, like, Turkish mafia, and this guy was related to his family, and they kept on saying, oh yeah. One guy goes, yeah, I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna tell him that you're wanting to fight him and everything else. And I'm like going, I don't know the dude. I never met him before.
Right.
So he came into the pool hall one day, and I was like, "Hey, are you so and so?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, I heard we have a beef with each other." He's like, "Yeah, I heard the same thing," and it just took the wind out of everybody because you know
Yeah.
they were telling them different stories, and they were telling me they're like, "Oh, this guy's coming after you. This guy coming after you," but it was just kind of funny because it all started from the beat that was like months beforehand,
Right. Right.
and I had this reputation. I'm like going, it just happened to be a lucky punch, but it was just kind of funny because I
Yeah.
was like, no, I don't want to fight you. But yeah, we all got out of there. It was just kind of crazy because I think V got bit. The dude bit him like around the thumb or something,
Jeez.
and I guess I heard we put one dude in traction.
Oh, really?
It was like, yeah. I mean, I'll catch all the stories. I think they were like, oh yeah, this dude went down, and what's funny is we got outside and we were leaving, and the owner came out and thanked us for beating him up.
Oh, were they like trouble for the club or something?
Yeah, they
And
were always trouble for the club,
well,
and we're like,
good.
hey, we appreciate you beating those guys up. We're like, hey, no problem.
Isn't it funny when you get in a situation like that and you're like, you you think you're aware of what's happening, but you then later on you hear all these stories that actually occurred, and you're like, what? All that went down?
Yeah,
Because you're in your little piece, you're focusing on your section of it or whatever. Yeah, it's weird.
yeah, because it's just there's so much going on in so many different locations, different, But I guess I would say the blessing of being in the '80s, people weren't packing.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I'm sure if somebody had a knife or a gun, somebody would have got stabbed or somebody would have got shot.
Didn't
Like
it?
nowadays,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Wouldn't you say that it, like back then, it was even in the '90s too. It was a little less serious than it is now. Now, if you like, if somebody has beef with you or you do something, man, they're like they want to kill you. They're like they take it so personally, and it's not like
Yeah.
back when we were in, it was like yeah, you mix it up, you get in a little fight, and then it was like that was it. It wasn't you weren't looking for the guy the next day, or you weren't trying to kill the guy. Or I mean, I don't know.
No, it's like you got a fight and then you moved on.
Right. Right.
You didn't. I mean, it was you might hold a grudge until you get a chance to fight them again,
right.
but you didn't. But you didn't like you know, you didn't go look for it every day from it.
Sure.
It's like if you happen to cross paths with the guy again, you might duke it out, but then by then probably, yeah, it's crazy nowadays because and what's funny crazy about it nowadays, you get in a scrap with somebody, you kick that guy's ass, his buddy is the one that's coming for you with a gun
Yeah.
to avenge to avenge you beating his ass.
Right.
It's like,
I mean, it was more. I don't want to say innocent because I don't. I mean, it's fighting, but it seemed like that was it. It wasn't. There's nothing. I don't know. It just seemed different.
it was fisticuffs as they used to
That's
call it.
it.
It was like
Yeah.
it was a street fight. It was. I mean, uh, everything but guns and knives.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And it just it was it was just the way it was. It's just, but not nowadays. I mean, you seriously, I carry a stun pen when I go places just because I'm 60.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
not,
Right. I know
and
exactly.
the first thing I'm gonna be like 911. Yeah, I'm in fear of my life. I just stunned a dude with a stun pen.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, if you ever had to pull a gun on somebody, be on the phone with 911 at the same time. Tell them
Sure.
you're in fear of your life
Exactly.
because we had a guy around a corner from here. I guess in a road rage, a group of dudes followed him to his apartment. So he pulled his gun out and I guess put it on the hood of the car. Well, somebody in the apartment saw that and called the police, and he got arrested.
Really.
And I never knew what happened to it, but he was a local teacher.
Yeah.
But you don't know nowadays,
It's
man. I
crazy.
tell you, it is crazy, man. It is. So anyway, I know I got off on a tangent.
That's all
but,
right. Well, let's bring it back. So I was talking to, man, who was I just talking to about this? I was talking to Brett Ramos recently about something like this. We were always about Jump Fest, and we were talking about people getting their blood wings at a Jump Fest. That happened to you. You were experiencing that. Tell me about that.
yeah. So, and my parents were in town.
Oh, nice.
So it was at Shaw, and I was getting senior wings.
Uh-huh.
Dude, I mean, they lined, it was like a conga line. Dun, 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 dun,
Right.
And, oh yeah. And John, I think I let Johnny McKay punch me first because he gave me my first blood wings.
Oh, okay.
So we picked up a CH-3 and flew down to Hunter Army Airfield. And, we were jumping down there, and myself and what's funny is we jumped in, so I got the jump before Terry Maxim got the jump.
Okay.
So
So you got the pound
I
his
got
on.
I got the and he's like, man, you got to push my blood wings, and they didn't put yours in because back then, if you didn't, you didn't have wings, you didn't punch somebody.
Right.
If they had blood, a jump before you, you didn't get they got their blood wings before you.
Yep.
So so my parents it was myself and this lieutenant were getting blood wings, and his wife was standing next to my parents, and dude, it was I don't care, every jumper pretty much I think punched me.
Yeah.
Even the guys
at that
I
point,
knew.
go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't know who was who, but I knew all the seniors and masters that I knew of. But then there was guys that went to jump school with me that I knew they weren't getting senior wings yet, but they still hit me. What was I going to say? No, you can't hit me.
Yeah, right.
And his wife's like, he said this wasn't going to happen to him. And my mom goes, it is what it is.
It is. It really is what it is. Yeah.
But yeah, it was that was kind of crazy, man, because it was just a line of people.
I was going to say, yeah.
I don't know if you, we were, when they had one of the, I can't remember what year it was, when they had the Lightning Challenge at Hurlburt still, because the schoolhouse was still there.
Right.
Mike Lakin made the mistake. He didn't go to Benning. He went to Lakehurst in Jersey.
Oh, okay.
The Navy school where you jump out of helicopters. That's your Hueys.
Of all this time, I've never heard of that school. I've heard of the academy, and I've heard of Benning. I've never heard of the Lakehurst one. That's funny.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's still operational or not.
Okay.
But yeah, back in the day, you could go there for jump school.
Wow.
Get your 5 jumps and be considered jump qualified.
Okay.
And him and there was a dude that went through air because it got to be like at the party on that Saturday before we even started.
Yeah.
Blood wings, and now Lakin is getting pummeled.
Jeez.
And he was yellow and purple all through here before we even started the competition. And the other dude was smart. He's like, no, I'll let you hit me on Friday for my air assault wings.
Right.
But you're not hit me here because the competition has to start.
Yeah,
so everybody's like, okay, that's cool. Because also it went from jump wings to air assault wings.
Oh, okay.
And sure enough, at the end of the bank, we were in the bar and he was in blues, and boom, boom, people started punching his air assault wings in.
Jeez.
But it's just, yeah, man, I felt bad for Mike, but then again, I didn't feel bad for Mike.
Right, exactly.
No, I mean, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Mike's a good dude, but it was just kind of funny because he got wailed on, man, bad. Yeah. I mean, it was like all purple and yellow for the longest time,
Because people are nice. They're not like, it's not like just like, I mean, a couple of guys will give you a little tap, but most guys are trying to knock you in the next week,
Well, or they would pop them out and put them back in.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I would never do that. If they fell out, different story.
Yeah.
But if they were in, I would just come and tap them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the deal. That's the deal, right? You leave them in, but if they happen to fall out, then you can redo it. But some guys would,
because you're gonna have to redo them. But I mean, I know dudes that got pins broke off in their chest.
Yeah, I've heard about that too.
So now you got to pry them out.
Yeah.
But it's like, jeez, go get another tetanus shot. But that's the thing is can't do that nowadays.
That's what I was gonna say, and that's another thing that you can't do now.
Yeah, I mean, I get afraid as a civilian teaching class. I have to watch what I say.
Sure. Yep.
Because I mean, if I know the class is wide open and they know me, then that's a different story.
Sure.
But and that's where I was. I had people that I had taught before, and they were wide open, so I was wide open.
Right.
I mean, I was seeing the changes about the time I was retiring, where you and I, you had to make your gates before they would give you something like a Pathfinder school,
right,
or Halo school, and it had to be like a one that was open, and no guy that was actually filling some sort of billet, with the soft TACPs at the time, and you could go, but now, when I was retiring, guys were like, I want to go to Halo school. Well, there's no slots, but there's no you haven't met us. Why can't I go? Why can't I go to this? Why can't I? I'm like, I'm not your parents.
Yeah.
Just because your parents bought you a car at 16, doesn't mean that you're going to get what you want when you're here.
Yeah. You got to pay some dues. I mean, you have to earn these things. Yeah.
I mean, I saw the influx of a lot of the, I don't know whether they failed, quit, or or medically washed out of CCT or pararescue,
Mhm.
but they were all merging over to TACP. And as a Stan Val guy, I would say and try to be the voice for reason. I'm like, listen, nobody's going to care if you want to go back if you meet all your gates.
Right.
You're here now. Be a TACP. Do your 3 years as a TACP. Do everything that you got to do, that you need to do to make your 5 level and do all this other stuff. Become an evaluator or a trainer. Get your ETAC status. And then if you want to go back, go back.
Right.
They'll be more than happy to go, man. Rock on.
Nobody
Rock on with your bad
cares.
self.
We encourage it. Yeah, if that's what you want to do, for sure.
Yeah, if you want to better yourself that way, do it. But every once in a while, you get that one guy be like, "Yo, when I was CCT, I was like, no, you didn't make it through CCT."
Right.
There was some great dudes, and God bless them. They all went back, and I'm, Tony Tarando, Ivan Ruiz,
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of the dudes. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they got to go back and do what they first initially came in to do.
For sure. Yeah.
It wasn't like going, man, I wish I would have done that after 20 years.
Right.
Man, I wish I would have went back to CCT or I went back to PJ.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really give it a shot to go back. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's the thing is, I'm glad the guys that wanted to go back went back, and I'm glad the guys that didn't want to go back stayed in our career field because it made us a great career field.
Oh, for sure. There's a ton of like, call them washouts, but whatever. But they're like they're kind of like the backbone of our career field. There's a lot of guys that are like just awesome dudes that we're lucky to have. That they probably would have not wanted to wash out, but I'm glad they did because we got them in the TACP, and they're phenomenal troops.
And they turned around and got here and liked what they did, and liked everything that was going on, so they stayed. So I don't know where you want to catch back up. I want to go.
Let's go to let's see here. Hook to Halo landing in the parking lot.
Yeah. So so I'm doing a Halo jump, and we're doing watery, and we're jumping out, and they're all doing static line into the watery. Well, Scotty and myself are jumping Halo, and they're like, don't get the chutes wet. Okay. Well, we plan on. Scotty's like, yeah, just we're gonna land right there in the parking lot. So I and that's a crazy because Jason Vaughn did a jump in there doing a Halo. He flips upside down and then cuts away the chute. He disconnects so the other chute would come out, but he disconnected the chute one time and went in head first diving in. That's how crazy he was.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah, I mean he rode unicycle up and down the stairs on the barracks, and he was crazy. Climb the outside of the barracks and just climb up different out on the outside.
Yeah.
But so I'm coming in, and of course parking lot's got cars in it, people hanging out. We got there's a bus that was carrying people up. They were down the one road leaving from the dock area. Well, I come in, and at the time I was full up, and I'm not going down now. I'm just coming in. And instead of me going half brakes and just kind of turning around and going out, I hook turned it. I was like, oh shit, because now I'm looking, and there's power lines and it's telephone lines, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to get yanked up on one of those. Well, I hook turned it. Now I'm coming up this way, and I'm getting back under the chute, and I'm like, oh I'm not screaming, like, oh shit. And as I've come down, luckily it was on the slope down for the boat ramp.
Oh, okay.
And I come in and feet hit, and I just slide right in front of the wing commander. He's like, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I wasn't losing altitude or something like that. Well, then they tried to they were like, "Well, was he experienced enough to do it?" To Scotty, and they were like, "Were you forced to jump?" I went, "No."
What?
And what's sad about it was Scotty was off supporting the Normandy anniversary jump.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't even in country, and they were trying to throw him under the bus.
What? I mean, doesn't even make sense.
That was the 507th wing at the time, and I went, "No." I said, "I made a mistake." Yeah. I said I should have went at half brakes, and just turned around and went back out, and that would have been fine. But I just kind of like got ahead of myself because I didn't see a way out.
Yeah.
It
happens. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, I said it was on me. I mean, it's funny because I laugh in Halo school. I was roster number 40. I was the fat ass in the class. I was roster number 40. I ended up being they ended up putting me in, they fired the 10th 10th group SF guy that was out there, they fired him because he just kind of like didn't, he was a reservist, part-time reservist or something. And they ended up putting me in charge of the class. I don't know if it was because I was the lowest ranking guy at the time, the lowest and the fattest. Because when I fell out of the sky, my instructor couldn't catch me. I was spinning on my first jump.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to counter it, and he's racing to me. And he goes, "Dude, I was a bullet trying to get to you, and every time I got close, you would shoot away from me."
Jeez.
And I said, "I got to pull," and I went in to pull my automatic opener, which was supposed to be like an automatically out of the class.
Yeah.
He followed me down. He goes, "You had a hard pull. You understand me? You had a hard pull." Because I couldn't get to you. I saw what you were trying to counter. You were doing everything to counter, but you ran out of time.
Yeah.
So I stayed on. And
Nice.
then my 13th jump, and this is when I was at Shaw. I had Buddy MacArthur, Chris Brewer was in the class. On my 13th jump, my instructor was in there. I was always poising. I had poise. I like the poise. I like to watch the show.
Sure.
Well, my instructor wasn't there one day. So this other guy goes, "Have you dove yet?" I'm like, "No, I just been poised." He goes, "You need to dive this time." I went, "Okay." I got out there. I was Mary Lou Retton across the sky, and they were all the instructors were up there laughing their asses off at me because I got out and went, "Woo!"
Yeah.
So then I remember because my 13th and my last jump, the 19th jump, were all my worst jumps there.
Yeah.
And the 19th was a night 02 equipment jump.
Oh.
And when we got out, I was tumbling and spinning and everything else. And they knew it was me because when we got on the ground and we're all there and organized up, we're all in a group. I had instructor bookends.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, one of you we watched because you got chem lights on you."
Right.
They're like, "Not sure which one it was because it was dark. We couldn't tell, but one of you was tumbling for like 7,000 feet." And they're standing right next to me saying this shit.
Yeah.
So they knew it was,
they know who it was.
They knew it was me. But we were the class, believe it or not, that and I'm not going to take full credit for it, but we couldn't jump one day because the winds were too high, but the instructors were going to jump except for our instructors. And they were pissed because we had to go out to the drop zone and set up all the mats so when they landed, they could pack their chutes. So I said, "Hey, the mats are blue." I said, "Hey, we got the blue mats out. We're all in yellow jumpsuits." Because this one was still at Bragg. So you went the right pat for the altitude chamber and the wind tunnel, and then you were supposed to jump back into Bragg. We ended up having to bus back in because weather was bad or whatever. I said, "How about we lay down and write out FU on the mats?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's great." So they got up on top of once we were out there laying down. Yeah, this will be a good land reference for them when they're getting out. So here's on the mood black FU. They took a picture of it from the top of the cattle cars. Man, the first sergeant of free fall was pissed. Weren't pissed at us because they thought they put us up to it. But yeah, that was our class that did that stuff. We had a Kenyan dude. I think it was Nigerian or Kenyan. He hit a tree.
Oh my God.
And our picture that we did of the class airbrush was, dude like hitting a tree with legs and arms, out wrapped around the tree, looking this way, and because that was there because they get to go back through. They never failed those guys. As a matter of fact, we had a couple of I think we had a couple of Egyptian guys in our class that went right to Halo Jump Master because they said we'll recycle him. He goes, because if he goes back as a failure, not only will they throw him in jail, but they'll throw his whole family in jail for embarrassing the country. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
It is crazy.
So I felt bad for him, but yeah, I did some jumps with them after the fact because I was in charge of para ops.
Right.
I'd be like, "Hey, I'll send a C-130," because we were close to the Charlotte flight guys. So I would send an airplane. They would go over, pick up guys, Det 1 guys, and whoever wanted to come down, because it'd be like a Saturday jump, pick up the whatever Halo instructors wanted to come down. They'd all jump in, and then we would jump most of the day, go get. We got like there was Damara's Pizzeria that was at the back gate. They do like a 6-foot sub. We go get a couple 6-foot subs
Nice.
and then eat and then do more jumps and then they would fly them back up. But it was. I mean, it was fun. I
I used to
mean,
love stuff like that. Like
yeah,
jet and aircraft. I mean, nowadays you try to jet an aircraft, it's like, well, they want $200,000 up front, or they want
yeah.
$500,000. It's like back then it was. They're just like, yeah, we'll come down. We need the training anyway. And it was everybody kind of got something out of it.
And we would pre-coordinate it with like the Charlotte Guard guys. So when we would go to the Jack conference, we could already put it on the board and circle it that it was already taken care of
Yeah.
because it was all agreed upon.
Right.
But now it's like, okay, are you jumping? Are we going to have an airload for dropping some, supply, doing a supply drop? Or are we going to do an air, like a halo? Or are we going to do any air land or lapes?
Right.
What do we do? It was all about points. Who's going to pick it up?
Oh, yeah.
We'd have it secured all the time, man. I mean, it was great because I took 3 shoots one time up the brag because they were jumping, and one of the instructors. It was funny because I took 3 shoots, so I had to repack.
Right.
And it was a Halo Jump Master course, and the instructor goes, "The student's going to go, but don't go till I tell you to go."
Uh-huh.
Okay. First in the door, C-141. The student goes, "Go." I was out. I got out. I went,
oh, that's right. I was supposed to wait.
And I look up. Plane's still going. Plane's still going. Boop, 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 boop. And all like, yeah. And then I hit the ground. I landed with everybody else. And he just looked at me and went, "What did I tell you?" I went, "Yeah, sorry." I got a little excited.
Yeah.
I promise I'll do it next time.
All right.
But yeah.
But you get so used to it, you're like, a guy points me out, I go. That's what happens, Yeah.
Green light, go.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I remember I was working with Jazz. We came down just Desert Shield, Desert Storm 1.
Mm-hmm.
We were prepping for something. Didn't really get the full up what the mission was, but we were doing air seizure right there at Benning. So it was me and Jazz. Jazz was jumping in. I was air landing. I think he was like, we were I forget which battalion. We were like the Charlie company.
Okay.
And he was on team gold. I was on team black, or vice versa. So we're there. We're getting the briefing on the plane, and I guess they had some guys land in the river, a night before, 2 nights before. So they're giving a brief, and the nav goes, "Green light's going on here. It's going off here. Red light's coming back on. If you didn't get out, you're air landing."
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like, "Roger." Ready, break. Meeting's adjourned. As he's walking past, the CCT guy that was there, he goes, "Hey," and he shows him on the map. He goes, "I know you said green light's here and red light's here, but my motorcycle is over here. So can you turn the red light on for them, but then give me a green light 2 seconds later so I can get out of my." Yeah. And the Ranger dudes are all looking at me. I'm like, "Hey, I don't know that guy."
Yeah.
Because I'm going, "Are you serious, dude?" But yeah, he did. He asked for his own pass. And the nav goes, "No, if you're not out here, you're landing.
Yeah.
You better not go out on the red light." So yeah, it was just, he made sure he got out, but it was just kind of funny because he was like, "I want my own pass."
Yeah. What?
He's like, just a delay. That way I can get out. I'm a little closer to my stuff, because hey, I'm one of these
walk
guys.
It, dude. Yeah, you'd be all right.
Oh yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I said, and like I said, I can't remember all the stuff I put on that sheet, but you can remind me of something, and I'll try to talk about it.
Yeah, do you want to talk about? I did one of these, and it was really fun. The NASCAR pre-race shows for the, like controlling the aircraft that come over.
Oh yeah, man. So
just real quick, for people that don't know, TACPs are really integral in that kind of thing. I mean, we did one in Atlanta. You did one at Charlotte. It looks Charlotte and Atlanta.
I did Charlotte, Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah, it's TACPs have a real good history of controlling flyovers at NASCAR races and other stuff too.
If you're watching the old NASCAR events with the dude jumping the bus over the simulated Berlin Wall, or matter of fact, we had Ringling Brothers there one year up in Charlotte, and Scotty did the first one. He goes, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go do it." That's where I met General Sadler and then on the John Boy and Billy and Jay Howard was the guy who was putting these on, and So, and we just had to control the flybys. We had to control the air, make sure all the helicopters out of the way so the airplanes could, whatever was doing the flyby for the national anthem had a clear space. So we
Right.
would, push the helicopters out of the way that were flying banners and stuff, or airplanes flying banners. Ringling Brothers, it was a husband and wife and son. They rode a motorcycle up a cable while one was on the shoulders balancing and the other one was dangling below it. I mean, I could have reached out and slapped them because I was right there on the corner with the radio.
Wow.
While they were riding up and then backing down over top the crowd. I was there for they were doing a presentation of the USS Charlotte submarine. So it had a fake like a submarine model out there.
Yeah.
And we had some wooden tanks right down on the front straightaway. And so next thing you know, they're firing simulated rounds at the submarine, and you're seeing water splash up out there. All of a sudden, a battleship rises up and starts firing back and blows up two of the tanks. Well, and there was and one of them, like, guys come running out of the back because now we got Bigfoot, the monster truck's going to come down and just smash over top of them. So
I tell you what, whoever puts on those NASCAR shows knows their audience. I mean, that's the most patriotic American thing you could possibly want to do.
Humpy Wheeler was a showman. Humpy Wheeler was the president of the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He worked Bruton Smith, God rest his soul. The billionaire, owned Sonic Automotive and Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. But Humpy Wheeler, he was the dude that made, like, I got this idea, let's do this, and then Jay Howard Events, who became huge because they started doing Indianapolis 500, indoor, like, basketball and everything else. He became big time with pre-race shows and other events.
Okay.
And then it spread down to Atlanta. Like, I was down there for Richard Petty's last race that Alan Kowicki with the Hooters car won the championship that year. Well, we brought in 3 Apache helicopters. So, Air Assault qualified Gary goes out there and brings in the helicopters and lands them over there by the airfield. Found a space for them, got them to land, and it was crazy because there were so many people coming in and they had air traffic controllers out in the wood box, actual ATC guys, civilians, controlling the airplanes landing at the Atlanta airstrip right there behind the airfield, or behind the racetrack.
Wow.
Shamu was taking off. Shamu the blimp. As he's buzzing to get altitude, plane comes in and goes, and lands right underneath him.
Really?
Yeah. So come Sunday, I'm like, okay, what's up? All right. They're like, we want the Apaches. We want them to hover off the back straightaway. Cars are going to go down the track. When they get around, we want them to go in formation behind the cars and then go out and then come back when they're coming down to start the race. Got it. Well, while they were back there on the back straightaway hovering, they're blowing cups and hats and dust all over people's food. Salute smartly. Aye, do what I'm told. So they're back there and they're hovering. Well, then they go out, and you still see the footage of it. They're still you see them go out, and then they come back, and as they're coming down for the green flag, they're right past them all. But needless to say, go to Charlotte the next year for the Coca-Cola 600, and there's an air traffic control guy, regional guy up there on the tower, and he's like blah 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 blah, and about Atlanta, and he goes, something about the helicopters. I said, yeah, it was me controlling them. Oh, are you an air traffic controller? I said, no, I'm a forward air controller. I'm a TACP. I'm a forward air controller. Well, who gave you the authorization? I said, that's what I was told to do.
Right.
I said, but if we're going to talk about air traffic controllers, you might want to talk to the people that let Shamu take off and almost have midair a collision with a plane that landed underneath it. Exactly. Blah, blah, blah. And he walked away. It's like, don't call me out because this happened.
Right.
And he probably knew it happened, but he just wanted to throw a little bit of weight around.
Oh, sure.
But I did a couple more, and then I didn't do them after that. And then, I got them camouflage netting and everything else. And I got some guys, I think, up there during that time frame when I was doing it. Plus, when I would work there, I got people to come. I got people, tickets to the race. I got Rock and his dad tickets to the suite.
Nice.
because I just, dude, I wanted to include people.
Right. It was a good deal. I mean, it was really cool. You got to be down there on pit row, and you get
Yeah.
pretty. If the race wasn't going, you get on the track and see all the drivers. It was a good deal. It was pretty cool.
Say, hey, just come up in uniform, and like I got Mitch Kelly came up and he went to Bristol with me, and he was up in the suites and watching the race from on the roof.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't just go to a race anymore, man. I got the luxury. I got
Right.
I
You
got
ruined
free
it for
food
him.
and beer, and yeah, I guess I did. I mean, but it wasn't. I didn't want anything from anybody.
Sure.
It was just like I wanted people to be able to, like, I could relate to. I'm like, hey, remember when we did this? Yeah,
Yeah.
Or
Well, I mean,
remember,
also to your point, like when I came in with guys like Keith Ingram and Troy Lundquist and those guys, and it was like when you did something, you very rarely ever, like, kind of to your point, you didn't do it for yourself. It was like, hey, you got a good deal. See how many buddies you can get on with you. It wasn't like you just go do your own good deal and screw everybody else. You try to maximize everybody in there. That was like the golden rule back when I was growing up. And same,
yeah, I mean,
same with you.
yeah, I took guys to John Boy and Billy because I became like, I met General Sadler, and then I started doing other stuff. Like I worked for this company called Mach 25, and by this time I'm up at Bragg now.
Yeah.
So Mach 25 is Bruton is now partners with these guys, and we do pre air shows. So we're doing all the tents and all the stuff for the air shows. So like I saw Train perform their first album I think it was at Langley.
Nice.
Or Norfolk. At Langley, we had Seven Dust and somebody else that was playing on the backside.
Oh, okay.
But like I sat there literally on the side of the stage, and the band came out. I was like, man, that's some great music, man.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't been heard of yet.
Right.
They were just getting breaking
started.
out.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I took Tim Pachesa with me, Chachi. Oh man, it was funny because we went out to dinner. And Tim, because we were like setting up tents and we were riding around doing different stuff and making sure, like, because we were in charge of all the concessions as far as food were, and then we'd make our money, and then the base guys would make their money and stuff.
Sure.
So Tim goes with me, and we're out at dinner, and we're ordering, and Tim ordered like bang bang shrimp or something, and the waitress's name was Mona. Well, when she walked away, Tim goes, Mona make you grona. And her head snapped around so fast I thought it was going to spin all the way around. And I went, oh shit, Tim. And we just kind of like, man, let's just say those shrimp were awfully spicy when they came out. And I think I was like, man, you might want to apologize to her.
Yeah, right.
I didn't mean anything by it. I was just kind of going to make a joke. But yeah, but I get guys to go just because I want, I had one time where, matter of fact, because John Boy and Billy's station was 99.7, the Fox in Charlotte. They were having an anniversary, and they were going to have Leonard Skinner, and I forget who else to play. And I talked to the program director, Jeff Kent, and I'm like, hey man, can you give me some tickets? I'll try to bring my brothers, my military guys with me.
Yeah.
Sure enough, he gave me like 100 tickets.
Jeez, that's awesome.
And Colonel Parent was going to get a couple buses from the base. It was a free concert in Charlotte. We were going to bus everybody up.
And, we used to listen to John Boy and Billy all the time when I was in Georgia, at Fort Benning. Weren't you on? You used to call in, or weren't you on that?
I was in there. So one time I went up there with Killer Bees. Killer Bees, who was a comedian. He happened to be in Columbia because I was working at Fox 102 on weekends.
Yeah.
So meet him at one of the events. We get to talking. I bring him down to the squadron. Because he was all about the military, so they got him all suited up and everything else. And he thought it was the biggest kick because he got to do some stuff on base.
Yeah.
Well, then he goes, "Hey man, come, I need a ride to John Boy and Billy." I'm like, "I can pick you up. I'll take a day off, take a vacation day or whatever, take leave." And I'm picking him up at his hotel in Columbia at like 3 a.m. and we're driving up because he's got to be on the air by 6.
Mm-hmm.
So we get up there and he introduces me. Yeah, this is Sergeant Gary Parks. He in my ride, blah 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 blah. That's when John Boy goes Sargy Wargy, that's all he ever called me. I don't think he ever really knew my name until recently,
right?
Because it's been a while. But so I would go on the air. I would go up there and I'd take some guys up there. I took Todd Gannon up there. We actually had to do that sensitivity training after that incident at Fort Campbell, and we all in the theater the day before, and it was like about don't ask, don't tell. That's when don't ask, don't tell kind of started. It was under Clinton because those
right.
two guys from Campbell were dating the transvestite guys or something. One guy killed another guy or something.
Yeah.
So then the biggest mistake you could ever make with John Boy is when he's out on smoke break is to bring up a conversation just about random something random.
Sure.
Because he will bring it up on the air. So I'm like, yeah, man. I said, yeah, man. We just, they just started this don't ask, don't tell. So we had to do this, this training yesterday, blah, 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 blah. So, we're all back in the studio. Todd and I are up against the wall watching, and like, good morning, big show's on the radio. John Boy, Billy, Jackie, Randy, Saji Waji, and his buddy Todd. He's like, oh yeah, they just had to go through homosexual sensitivity training. And I look at him like, dude, you just, biggest mistake ever. Just because I just like, why? That's not the way I said
what?
it.
Yeah, what do you do now?
They had to go through homo safety sensitivity training. I went, oh man,
Hey, I had heard you on there. I'd heard somebody say Sargi Wargi, and I was like, I didn't put it together. I had no idea who that was. And then later on, I found out it was you. I was like, I thought it was pretty cool because I'd heard you on there several times, and it was funny and
well, like I found out that Brad Ellis, who was up at Task Force 160, was a big fan.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, this guy is, I didn't know Brad. Right. So I was like, hey, this guy Brad Ellis, he's with Task Force 160th up at Fort Campbell. He's a huge fan. If you can give him a shout out. They're like, yeah. So they're like, yeah, this guy's out the Brad Ellis, Task Force 160. Blah 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 blah. I didn't know at the time that there was targets out on the heads of Task Force 160th guys. They were all having to remove tags off of their car saying who they were because I guess of Ruby Ridge or some incident. Yeah.
Wow.
And they were all like, there was bound. And so now all of a sudden I'm saying,
just blowing them all up.
The Task Force 160th. And he turned around and told me about it later, because I was with him in Korea. But yeah, man, it's like, I did a year in Korea. I actually did AFKN. See, like I said, I've always did jobs.
Yeah.
So I mean, I got a chance to do Armed Forces Radio over there on Saturdays.
No, see, you've done that a couple times. I see a lot of these. You've DJed in a lot of places. Do you just like I could see maybe going down to Charlotte or whatever, but like in AFKN, did you just like audition or how did you just offer up?
Gendron. So when I was in Columbia and I was DJing at the strip bar, a couple of guys from Fox 102 used to come in, and on Wednesday nights they had Hi Mom, I'm on the Fox. So they turned around. I was supposed to go to Kuwait, deploy to Kuwait.
Okay.
So they made a special engagement for me that I could come in and be the guest DJ that night from 10 to 11 with Weird Beard. And it was like, instead of Hi Mom, I'm on the Fox, it was like, Hi Mom, I'm going to Kuwait.
Oh, okay.
So we just I got to play music, and DJ on the air and everything else. Well, Benji Norton, who was the program director at the time in the afternoon drive dial, he goes, hey, when you get back, you got a job.
Nice.
If you want a job part-time. I'm like, cool. Well, I never went. We couldn't deploy because we were considered offensive instead of defensive.
Oh, right.
And so I said, hey, man, does that offer still stand? He goes, yeah. So I started doing weekends. And then from there, because I was getting orders to brag, somebody hooked me up with Oldies 96.5. So I started out on weekends. I was driving down to Laurinburg where the station was from my house early in the morning on Sunday to be on the air when to kick off the, Sunday morning stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then once it moved to brag, it was a lot easier, which there's another crazy story. I think I wrote that down. I may have not, but so then I'll get orders to Korea. Well, Gendron's over there and Gendron knows Ace Avitas, who's on the air AFKN.
Yeah.
And he hooks me up with her. So I went down and I sat with her on a Saturday, and then she worked it out that I could do Saturdays and give them all the break.
How about
so that? I'd either take a vehicle down and then go shop at the commissary to go back up to Camp Red Cloud, or I'd take the subway down. And then I would be on the air till noontime from like 8 to noon. And then I just kick off like Rush Limbaugh and all the afternoon shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. What year were you over there in Korea?
98, 99.
Okay. Wow, so she was over there again because when I was over there in 94, 95, she was over there. She must have left and come back or something.
Veronica Acevedos. She
Yeah.
must haven't gone back, but yeah, she was over there when I was over there.
How about that?
Yeah, and she was, it was cool. I mean, Korea was crazy, man. I think I may have wrote it down. I mean, like I said, I kept dudes out of trouble. They may not have knew it or not, but it was funny because, you know, the one guy was Abe Martin's.
Yeah.
When I came in the one day and they're like, hey, they want to give Abe a letter of reprimand or Article 50. I'm like, for what? What did he do? He stripped on the bar in the duck pond. I went, he did what? And then they started explaining the story. And we had this female staff sergeant. She was a lush.
Yeah.
She was a barfly. And I guess they were drinking together and she got him to start stripping on. But then there was a master sergeant, there was a tech sergeant, and a senior master sergeant all standing there watching.
Yeah.
And didn't stop it. They were all maintenance and they didn't stop it. So I said, unless you're going to write all them up,
Yeah.
you can't write him up.
Right.
So it just went away.
Nice. Korea was a wild place. I mean, I don't know how wild it is now, but man, back in the 90s, I'm sure 80s too. I mean, but it was crazy. You could do
everybody's down to Humphreys now.
Oh, is that where? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they moved. I think they moved all of Casey, all of Camp Red Cloud. They all moved to Humphreys.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's all back. Like they blasted. I guess even the Army blasted Humphreys and made it bigger, and it just like everything's there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I heard Red Cloud's closed, Casey's closed. I mean, there might be a small contingent at Casey, but my understanding is it's all at Humphreys.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, I was always told we're not there to keep the North from coming south. We were there to keep the South from going north.
Oh, is that right?
That's what I mean. That's how it was explained to me.
Yeah.
I
know that all I did was control Cass and just try to stay out of trouble, which didn't work that much.
Well, it was. I mean, yeah, there was people that did stupid stuff.
It was just I don't know. You were only there for a year, and there was so much turnover, and it was just a free for all. It seemed like.
I just couldn't believe how many people played husband and wife together when their husbands and wives were back in the States.
Yeah.
It's a year. It's technically 6 months because you get to go home for 30 days.
Right.
You mean to tell me
you can't keep it in your pants for that long? Come on.
Yeah, and I'm like watching this going. I'm going. Me, I couldn't do it.
No. Well, I mean, I was single anyway, but yeah.
But I was married.
Yeah.
But I watch guys go, "Oh, I love you. I miss you. Hug the kids. Tell the kids. Let me tell the kids I love them," and then get off and go play a husband to somebody else.
Yeah, it's weird.
And and what was funny was the one guy I knew his wife from Shaw Air Force Base, and she was hot, and the person he was hanging out with homely with a capital.
But was she hot for Korea for a year? Like the deployment. No, not even that.
She wasn't even supermodel hot, Korea hot.
Wow.
She wasn't one plane ride away from being ugly again. She was just homely. and she had a fiance in Hawaii, stationed in Hawaii. So what was funny was he was coming over to visit. The other dude, hey, I'm out. I get it.
Yeah.
You're going to be with your fiance. She wanted that guy there to where you could see. I mean, everybody knows.
Yeah.
In the at the 604 ASOS, everybody knows what's that those two have hooked up and shacked up. Now the fiance's come over. The one guy steps aside. She wants in there all the time. The guy from Hawaii starts kind of feeling like he's the
third wheel,
fifth wheel. Yeah. Third wheel, fifth wheel, call it what you want. The 10th wheel. He wasn't even in that. Blowing on the side of the road. They changed his ass now. And this was the crazy stuff. I'm going and she's like, no, he needs to come with us. We need to go. We're going country dancing down at the I'm going,
that's weird. Man,
it was literally, I'm going, how do y'all
yeah.
I'm not saying I was innocent, when I was married 3 times while I was in the service, and when they left, they were leaving me. I was moving on from it.
Sure.
I found somebody else to date or do whatever.
But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you had moved on. Like, you
Yeah.
don't invite your fiance over and like just cut them loose. Just say don't come, dude, because it's not
Yeah.
we're not together anymore.
Or,
Whatever. Just
and divorce your wife back in the States. Quit
right,
playing how, because you got to go back now. That person's not leaving. That person, it isn't like say, I'm going to be here for a year. We'll play husband and wife. And then once we go back, we separate, ready. We're never on talk to each other again. It doesn't work that way.
I know.
Somebody always is going to be one of, reach out, and women are vindictive. I've been married a couple of times.
Yeah, man. Me too.
I have an awesome wife.
Same.
I always said, because I look at, there's certain people that were married and made the ranks in our career field.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really because they had a strong family base.
Yep.
Supporting them. Yeah. And I've always said it was, as a family wise, you got to have a strong base if you want to make it in any job in the military, but especially in our job.
Oh yeah.
And I always wished, I was like, Dorothy, who I'm married to now, I love her with all my, with everything I have, because she's my angel. She has actually saved she saved my life, really, because if it wasn't for her sending me to her doctors, I would probably be dead under the VA. Wow. Because if they discovered that my esophagus wasn't working and had to be removed,
wow.
So if it wasn't for her, and that's the way I look at it. She was with me there through the whole, cleaning my feeding tube for, the time when I was at home, and making sure I was plugged up, to get food through a tube and everything else. So I'm blessed for her. I wish I had her through my Air Force career, because maybe I would have stayed longer, and maybe made the ranks of chief. But I didn't have, and I think if I was to say, if I had any regrets about my military career, it was that I didn't stick with my master plan at 18 years old. I'm gonna stay 20 years, make master, and then I'm gonna get out.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was gonna be 3 marriages in there.
It makes it tough. It makes it tough, man.
I mean, I never lost anything. I mean, especially on the last one, I got divorced on a Monday and retired on a Friday. It was a good week.
Yeah.
And I kept the house and the dog. So
that's good.
But it was wasted time.
Yeah.
It was wasted time because, again, I wouldn't have had a good, you can't be questioned. I spent $1,400 on phone calls from Korea, dude.
Yeah.
Because I had to call her 3 times a day, because I made the mistake of going, I can't believe the crap I see going on over here.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, call me in the morning, call me at midday, call me in the afternoon. I'm like, it's a 14-hour difference.
Right.
So that's where it just, you can't, you got to have a dynamic. It's the whole picture. You got to have a strong wife, a strong foundation that's going to be like, I know you got to deploy, we're going to be here. Nowadays, I mean, it should be even easier because you can FaceTime with people.
Right. It doesn't cost anything to call back now.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you can VoIP back over different apps and everything else. And it's just, you're on the internet. Right. Whereas back in our day, you had to send carrier pigeon,
Exactly.
I got a Dear John letter when I was in Germany. I don't want to date you anymore. It's like, it took like 4 weeks to get to me.
But it's true though. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like, you could call like DSN to another base, and then ask them for an off base line, and then you could maybe do it that. It was not easy to call back from Korea unless you had like a phone card, or you could definitely pay for it. But man, it was tough.
I had a bar tab of phone calls back to the States in Germany.
Oh yeah,
because they would let me use their phone.
Oh really?
And when I get, how much owe you? And I would shell out marks to them. Yeah, they would just let me use their phone. But again, it's international calls,
right?
And that's. I wish I would have just stayed single and just did my thing instead of getting wrapped up, because then it just changes the dynamic. You can't be questioned when you got to go do something, or how long you're going to be gone. It's just. And have to sit there with that worry in the back of your head.
That's what I was going to say. It's just something back there the whole time. Just, especially if they're not supportive. Like your current wife seems very supportive. If they're not supportive, or they're questioning you, or they're very I don't want to say needy, but it's kind of like that, like they're very high maintenance. Then
Mhm.
not only do you have to do your job wherever you are, and it's a hard job, but now you have to worry about that other piece too. And yeah, it's frustrating.
And add to it, I'm deploying. I got 10, 20 dudes that are my responsibility for their safety, but they're dealing with it from their side.
Right.
Now I gotta keep what's going on in my life to me, but I've got to listen to them and help them deal with their issues of being there and everything else.
Yep.
It's not it's it. I wish, and I don't know how you do it because I remember one guy had a couple kids and he would get home and his wife would say, "It's your turn now." It's like he'd been working all day
I
and
know.
he was the breadwinner. I mean, I'm not saying it's like he was. If it wasn't for him having the job and being in the Air Force for him, and they were in
Yeah.
base housing. So what was the cost? But
I know.
she would turn around and say, "Yeah, I know you. I know you've been working 12 hours." And it's tough, man.
It
I mean,
is
it
tough.
really. I
It
mean,
really
you,
is.
you know,
Because
I
you have to think about the his wife. Yeah, she's at her wits' end at the end of the day because she has been doing that all day. But then it's very touchy. It's a complicated thing, kind of thing. It
yeah.
definitely, and that's to your point. That's why it takes somebody that's you're on the same page with, who you're not at odds with. If you're a team, then you can figure all that stuff out.
One of the things that I don't know how you change it because it's with anything. Whether you go to Korea for a year or whether you deploy downrange to a combat zone, your life ends in the States for that time frame.
For sure.
Their lives go on.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do. You can't pick up where it left off. They're already past that.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And it's very tough. And I don't think a lot of people understand how bad that is.
Yeah.
And it's sad because there's stuff out there I think people are afraid of to go talk about. But I think if more people talked to counselors and stuff like that, I think they'd be a lot better off. But
Oh,
because I
100%.
thought about it, I thought about it when I was in Korea for a year. I was like, yeah, I was there for 6 months, but my life is here now for a year. Everything else is going on.
Yeah.
When I deployed to Afghanistan, even though I was there a short period of time, life moved on.
Right. Yeah.
Your life is there. It's not back in the States. You can't be a part of anything going on back there.
Like it's one thing to try to maybe keep informed, but if you try to like have any kind of input or control over what's going on in the States when you're deployed, I mean that's horror. That's a bad situation.
What you gonna do? Shake your finger at them?
I know. It's like
Don't make me what? What are you gonna do? What make you
well,
do
it's
what,
almost
Dad?
insulting to your wife because then they're like,
Yeah.
because she's like, I got this, don't, you're over there, you're not here. I'm doing it the way I need to do it for now, so.
Yeah, just let us know just keep us, let us know you're okay.
Right.
Because back when I went in 2002, you could only get so much airtime.
Hmm.
If you could even, I mean, I don't even think there was, I mean, you had to make phone calls back. You had to make phone patches back
Oh
through
yeah.
through the field phone.
Yeah.
And you could only be on there for so long. There was no real internet. You had to write, like write a letter. Internet hadn't really developed to where it was. Go forward 2009, 2010 when I'm, at in Kandahar, or not Kandahar, but Ali Salim, and then Balad, and then Camp Liberty, where you had your own internet right there,
Right.
and you could do your own thing. But
Well,
I tell
let's
you,
back up a little bit. Let's talk about
yeah,
Afghanistan. Let me hear about your deployment. Like, because I mean, I saw that YouTube video of that.
yeah,
What was it
Team
called?
Hollywood,
Yeah, yeah.
profiles from the front line. Yeah, that
Right.
kind of yeah, that was something. So there we had an Advon team over there, and then the rest of us showed up. George Kyer, myself, Huss, Pavlich, myself and Rockel were put together.
Okay.
Devin Rockel as a team, and we're on Kandahar. Well, the 101st, all the 101st TACPs had already gone back. Well, the 101st is going out on one more mission, and they need TACPs. So yeah, okay. So a group of us go up there. We're all going to support one of the battalions and one of the companies, and so we're waiting to get on board, and there's a civilian guy there, and I'm like, "What do you do?" He goes, "Oh, I'm with such and such productions. We're doing this show called Profiles from the Front Line, where we follow people around, and I think it was the Scott brothers, I think, that were that were ahead of it all, and they just had carte blanche to follow anybody. They were with SEALs, SF, all these people, but they had to send all of the footage back to this, DOD and State Department to get what they could approve, or if they had to black somebody's eyes out or black out rank, they could only but they were there, then along with it. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. He goes, well, what do you guys do? I said, well, we're technical air control party members. We're here with the 82nd, blah, blah, blah. We're going up to support the 101st on their last mission. And, so we all get on the plane. He flies up, we fly up, nothing else. We're doing our thing. And I run into him at the BX or the PX. And he's like, hey, I'm glad I ran into you. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He goes, we want to follow you around. And I'm like, well, and he goes, we're going out on the 101st mission. We want to follow you around. I was like, well, we're going here, Alpha Company's going here, but Charlie Company's going here. And I was like, these guys are going up here, so you may want to go there. He goes, no, we want to follow you. Okay. So now
you must have made an impression.
It's me and Rocco, and now they're putting a boom mic guy, sound guy with me, and another guy that's, asking me what's going on, and I'm having to explain stuff to him, and that's where we get there, and what's funny is we go to the go no go briefing. I get introduced to Alpha Company, and they're like, Air Force, you got anything to add? And that's when I went, yeah, if I'm shooting, we're wrong. And they all looked at me. I said, my job is to control the airplanes and drop bombs and destroy a lot of stuff and kill and blow shit up and kill people.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to shoot with you. But if we let them get to that point where I'm shooting, we let them get too close.
Right.
So you tell me where they're coming from and how many they are, and I'll get some airplanes to knock the shit out of them. And then whatever's left over, we'll all just take a shit out of them. And at the end of the day, we'll all take credit for everything.
Sure.
And they're all like, that's what, So, because I was like, because they were like, we're going in light, because we're just going to be running around, taking CH-47s in here, there, dropping down, checking this out. But I said, well, I got to carry radios. Well, so that's where we met Angel 69, and it was a reporter that was embedded with them that wrote for the Christian Science Monitor and Hustler magazine.
Both?
Yeah, he wrote for both magazines. And I was just laughing. I'm like, dude, I said, yeah, that's why they call me Angel 69. And matter of fact, what's crazy is as I'm working for Harris and I'm in Vilsec, and I run into the old first sergeant of Alpha Company. He goes, hey, remember Angel 69? Yeah, I talk to him still all the time. And it was pretty funny because that was now we're like talking 2009, 2008, 2009 timeframe.
Yeah.
I'm in Germany, 2007. But so we're out. Myself and Rocco, we got, camera guy, boom operator guy. They're in body armor, but we're highlighted. And I'm not saying anything, but I'm like worried for Devin and these two guys because, not only are the colors on our uniform blue compared to everybody else with black on theirs in the Army, but I'm Hollywood.
Yeah.
I got a camera dude, so I'm
that dude's target. Yeah.
That dude's important. But man, so what's funny is we were going into this one village and I talked to some guys later. They had earmarked the same targets I had earmarked. But we were talking to the kids down at the bottom, and they all got American dollars, and no Americans have been in this area. Sure stuff. The SF team didn't hand them American dollars.
Right.
They were like somebody coming across the border was hand them US bucks and everything else. So we were like passing out pens, and this is how people don't realize, and especially in Afghanistan, how I don't want to say prehistoric Neanderthalish that they are in some of these places, but we were giving pens and little stuff out to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger kids were willing to take a rock and smashing these kids in the head for a plain old Bic pen.
Yeah.
To take it from them. We're like, what are you, crazy?
It's crazy.
So, I hadn't taken a dump in like 5 or 6 days. So now we're up.
Go ahead. I was reading about this one.
So, dude, we're like up on so the brigade, like the brigade commander's up on top of the hill.
Yeah.
Alva's going, we're like overlooking, we're around the town. Alpha or Charlie and Bravo are still making their way to this town, and helicopter comes in, Black Hawk comes in, drops some stuff off. They're gone. I'm like, is the Black Hawk coming back? Now it's probably gone. So now I mix up the grape Kool-Aid in my water bottle, and I'm just sitting there. All of a sudden, I'm like, dude, I gotta take shit, and I'm like trying to figure out where I'm going to go because I gotta go. I mean, it's
Yeah.
literally, it's either I'm going to be walking around with a third leg, or I got to find a place. So I beat feet off of the edge of the LZ portion, and then there's some Afghan farmer's house down here. I know that the brigade commander and the captain are up on top of the hill, so I'm trying to be out of their sight.
Sure.
And I literally, dude, I couldn't. I had to get out of a pant leg because I gotta go, and like, so now I'm squatting down, and my helmet's off, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit! Black Hawk comes in and lands. I've got my head down, and I'm like, I kind of like glance up, and I'm looking right at the co-pilot, and he's looking at me, and so I'm like, I didn't want to show my ass to the farmer because I didn't want to get him excited, and I sure as hell didn't want them to see me up top of the hill. But I can't move now because the helicopter's here, and as soon as they took off, sure as shit, rolling right over top of me, just blew dust all over me and everything else. But needless to say, I swear to you,
Oh.
that turd looked like a loaf of bread.
Oh my God.
Because I planted rocks around it. The only thing it was missing was an American flag to basically salute it and give it its last rites, because I didn't realize you could. I gave birth out my ass. That's how big this thing was. It was about as big as, if not bigger than the burrito I had the other night down at Cocoa Beach. It was that huge. And, so I went back over, controlled a couple
Now
F-18s.
you're good to go.
I'm good, man. I'm like, I'm ready to run some miles, right? So, we had a little bit of a dust up because they found some guy that was supporting one of the like a terrorist group or something, but he was mentally retarded, and they're like, oh, but he's mentally retarded and everything. We're like, no, that's the guys they just strap stuff onto and blow him up.
Right.
So then he so they were getting him out, and that's what they were coming back up to say. They got him on board and they were flying out because it was funny because we got a dude hurt when we landed, hurt his knee, but the hockey helmet wearing dudes they were listening in, and on the chatter, they were already across the mountains. Like, I forget how many miles they said that, we had lost a man as we landed the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they signal mirror each other. They know Morse code with signal mirrors and stuff. All the goat herders.
Uh-huh.
So when we were up on top of the hills, we had dudes, in flex cuffs and being questioned by, we had a CW10 or something. The dude was like, was out when he was running around out there when the Soviets were in there.
Uh-huh.
And now he's back out there with an interpreter, questioning these dudes. I think we ended up letting them go or moved them down, but it was like one of those things where they were, with signal mirrors, so they knew they were like talking to one another.
Yeah.
Across the mountain ranges. But yeah, dude, that was that was the biggest turd. But that's when I also we ended up all going into this village, and we're all hanging out, waiting to exfil out and go to this other village.
Yeah.
And that we got the word that they would have attacked us if we weren't such a large force.
Really?
And but yeah, that's what they said to us. And we had grabbed some dude that had a whole bunch of like, a cache of like not much weapons as much as he had like money and different pamphlets and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And we had him out, but we also had all his women and his little harem off to the side, and they were all like boo-hooing and everything else. And we were questioning this guy, and I'm looking at all the other villagers, man, woman, and child. And I'm honestly, I'm glad I only did one tour over there, one quick tour over there, because when you look in the face of people that hate you and don't, and I mean, literally this is what the crazy thing is. When we were walking in this town, the cameraman's walking backwards, and it was a little walkway, and it's a little walkway, and there's all these little like windows that are you can't see out of. You can't see in them because they're black,
Yeah.
and and there's all these little wooden doors, and I'm walking, and I got the boom operator, and he's back, and so Gary, what's going on? I said, well, you're pretty much lit a target on us because because we're walking, and it was narrow,
Yeah.
and I was out, I was sweating.
Oh
I was
yeah.
sweating because I was afraid that, you know, yeah, they won't see it coming
Right.
because if somebody just decided to light us up out of that hole that was down low, there was nothing we could do about it,
Yeah.
you know. And I was literally like, well, you guys are painting a target on us because you're making us stand out.
Yeah.
But I'll let you know if something comes, and then and that was after we had already controlled the flyby with the F-18s, and they pop flares and everything, because and this is how I knew it was crazy over there. We're doing a show of force, and I hear them talking all the way back over SATCOM, getting the okay practically back to Qatar, wherever,
Right.
like Djibouti, wherever the headquarters was. Like, yeah, we got to, they're starting to mill up around these guys, and we just want to do a quick pass and pop some flares. It's like, before I could give them approval, on the ground saying cleared dry, cleared hot to pop over top of them, they had to get approval from 10 levels back. And I'm thinking, how, and the guy that we were looking for, some dude that I guess blew some fingers off making bombs or something, because all of the elements wanted credit for finding this dude
Yeah.
between the SF team and the 101st. And I don't think as much as the 101st as was the SF dudes or whoever the special hockey helmet guys were.
Right.
The dude went out the back door, snuck out.
You
Because
never
while
got
we
him.
were all sitting deciding, like, we're going to do paper, rock, scissors for who's going to take credit. The guy was gone. But literally, I'm looking at these people, and honestly, man, I feel for anybody who was in that situation, or would be in it, because I wouldn't want to be in that situation, because I'm glad I was, because I had orders on my desk. They tried to stop me from going. They said, hey, you don't have to go if you don't want to, because your orders are here to retire. I went, no. Because I think it was Jimmy Seabrooks was the guy that would get screwed.
Yeah.
We were like 3 weeks. We had been already out processing like 6 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy would have had 3 weeks to catch up to everything, and Jimmy had a family.
Yeah.
And granted, I know he would have went, but I couldn't live with myself if I
Of
went.
course not.
Okay,
No. Yeah.
I'm not going to go, and I'm going to screw this guy who has a family over, because he's going to get chances to go. I know he's going to get a chance to go, but I did. In that moment, I'm like, no, I've been waiting 20 years to do this. I'm going.
I was gonna say that's another thing that, like, we all kind of trained up for that moment. Little did we know it was going to last for 20 years, but
Yeah.
you see all these guys going to Grenada, you see them going to Panama. We had Chris Huneke in Somalia. And you're like, man, when's it going to be my time? And then, so you're not going to pass up that opportunity. Whatever that means, it doesn't mean anything other than you train for a certain amount of time. You want to execute that mission. You want to go serve your country for real.
You literally, I mean, because think of the number of guys that if you didn't go to, like, so back when we were training with the Rangers to do a mission, I couldn't find out. My understanding was there was a coup attempt in the Philippines, and the Rangers were going to go there, but we couldn't get enough airframes because they were all in for Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Oh,
and then here I am, we're training up, and now we're on 4-hour standby to be flown. Myself and Jason Vaughn be flown down to Benning to the Ranger Regiment to deploy with them. So we're ready to go.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Desert Shield kicks off, guys deploy over there. The guys that were at the 507th Wing that were supposed to support all of the non-jump elements, some of them didn't want to go. So all of a sudden they come to me and go, hey, need you to pack your bags. You got to go to Fort Riley and deploy with them. Like 2 days after Christmas.
Jeez.
And I went, what?
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's
what?
Yeah.
I've been on standby with the Rangers. Yeah. Well, we need you to go there. I went, what about the dude that's assigned to them?
Yeah, right.
Because even though you were in a wing position, you still, like, you could be Fort Stewart.
Sure.
The non-jump. What was it? was it not 20? What was the other 24th ID or somebody that was at Stewart? Well, one of whoever was there that was we had guys that were earmarked to go with them if they went. Well, now all of a sudden the guy that was for Fort Riley didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And they tried to stick it on me, and I pitched a bitch. Not that I didn't want to go, but I've been sitting there. I've been on the missions.
No, it makes sense.
With,
yeah, I
with
mean,
the Rangers. I've been sitting waiting to go. Like I've been sitting with all my bags packed. I couldn't leave my house because we didn't have cell phones,
right.
pay phones. Believe it or not, there were pay phones. And you had your rotary house phone or your punch button house phone that you had to stand by.
Yeah.
We had to call somebody. And go, I'm going here to get something to eat.
Right. I'll be over here. Exactly.
Yeah, I'll be over here. And that was the thing. And then Joe O'Neill went, and he was like in one of the biggest armor on armor battles with Fort Riley.
Oh, really?
Good on him. But I was supposed to go with these guys.
Yeah.
I've been trained. I've gone down here several times to go train with these guys, and now you're telling me I can't go.
Right.
And
plus, I mean that's. Plus, you're not prepared to go to the other one. You're prepared for this to go.
I've been mentally and physically ready to go that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what my mission was. I knew what was supposed to happen. Jazz jumps in. Jazz Erickson jumps in. I land with the other team, and then we do this.
Yeah.
Because we practiced, we rehearsed it.
Right.
And then we all run back on the airplane and leave.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me I got to pack my shit and go to Fort Riley, Kansas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so over there, we went out on myself and the MPs were going out and doing like friendly, like hand out stuff to the kids, mints and all this other stuff. I forget what they called them, but we went out to this one village. I was behind the driver. We stopped to pick up the interpreter at his house. Turns out the interpreter had a crush on the staff sergeant, DC, MP. And, so we drive out. On the way back, a guy goes, "Hey, you want to go by Osama bin Laden's old training camp, the one you see in all the footage?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do that." So we go by it. Okay, pretty cool. I'm taking pictures, and they're explaining all the painted rocks are because there's landmines and all this other stuff going out. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, later that night, it was myself and Mellon, and we were there to just give like HF if we need to get HF back to the base because over the mountain ranges, UHF or FM wasn't going to make it,
Mm-hmm.
So same guys go back and say, we're coming back tonight. I'm like, I don't think we'll be able to make tonight. Well, the interpreter sat behind the TC like where I was, and on their way back on the same road, they said they ran over an old Soviet tank mine, anti-personnel mine or something like that. But it blew the interpreter out of the back seat and out of the vehicle.
Way.
He was shaken up. The vehicle was all mangled up. Nobody really got hurt because it was an old mine, but I guess they were a little bit too far over and caught, a little bit of it.
Oh,
and that's what caused
it. It wasn't like a direct hit right underneath.
No, it was, and it might have even been delayed or something. Who knows? Who knows if somebody may have put something out there? I don't know.
Sure.
All I know is they said it was an old mine. So I got to thinking, man, when I was out there, I had the window down, my arm in the window, and it was an up armored vehicle, Humvee. What would I've lost my arm? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But they hear that happens. You guys aren't going out on any more MP missions. It's like, really? So
it's like you're in a combat zone. What do you expect?
Worried about somebody getting hurt and having to call back. And then the girl that I was hanging out with, her husband was there. I knew her husband. I met her husband. We hung out one time.
Yeah.
Well, our captain, and I wish I could remember the captain's name. He comes back and goes, "Hey, now we're back with the 82nd." And he goes, "Hey, I caught Captain so-and-so and his buddy. They were talking about you." And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, they think this." He goes, "I'm not, So he thought I was banging his wife. And I went, "Time for me to go." Because I wasn't due to leave for another couple months.
Uh-huh.
And I'd been there. I got there July, was there August. I was like, it's Labor Day weekend. They were getting ready to deploy out to all of the FOBs from Kandahar. Now I know if I get out there, I may not make it back in January to retire.
Sure.
And I was an odd man out So with all that chatter, I'm like, all I'm thinking is, you know,
Just get out of this
friendly
place.
fire.
Yeah.
So I convinced Colonel Hodges to let me go back so I started out processing and retire. And so I mean, and I did, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to stick around for that,
Yeah. You don't need that
because
drama.
well, yeah, I mean, he told her to hang out with me at times when we were back in the States before we were all deployed.
Yeah.
Why don't you go hang out with Gary? So
Weird.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I met him first time, and then he just treated like crap around me. I was like, it's kind of weird, you know, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
odd.
just was like, yeah, I'm out of here, man. That's, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I never went back. I mean, I went back to, to Iraq, as a L3 Harris contractor,
How was that?
but it wasn't bad. It was, I mean, it was a year. I was in and out every 90 days. I'd be out for 30. So
So were
I
you guys
really,
like, were you just training people, or what were you doing?
well, we would give training, but we were just doing maintenance on
Oh, okay.
radios. So, I mean, I was at Balad first, and then I went down to Liberty for a while. Then I came back up and left out of Balad. I helped close Liberty down, the shop down there on Liberty. But
Okay.
yeah, man, it was like, I mean, it was a year. I mean, I made good money, paid off
Yeah.
my
I'll
bills,
bet.
but it was interesting, just another interesting dynamic. Just watching people on base, and that's when I was like, I ran into some Riley guys. I'm like, guys, you ever go outside the wire? Oh no, we just control it here from the Thunderdome. I went, what?
Uh,
So they get all video screens and everything else. I'm like, man, this is crazy.
yeah.
Crazy cast. But yeah, man, I said, I mean, I had a blast. Like I said, those kind of did one big mission with the 101st and then did an MP mission. But just the way that people look at you, it's like, my philosophy was you could level that place and I wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep over it,
Yeah.
just because, when you hear of a village chief getting the people together to kill the two kids because they heard that those two kids destroyed a Quran. You didn't like investigate it. You just, those two, destroyed a Quran. Oh, and let's stone them to death or kill.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree. I've often said that, man, that it's just they're so archaic that like people can't understand that they don't think the way we do. They don't have the same feeling about life. You know what I mean?
no,
They it's very feudal, and they don't. It's and I'm not saying it's everybody, obviously, but where we went, guys like you and me, the places we go, it's very austere and very secluded, and they have their own little village, and it's very backwards, and like talking about guys like they wouldn't want to let their pregnant wife go see a male doctor because they didn't want the male doctor to look at her privates or
yeah,
whatever. And I'm like, but then you
yeah,
understand that she needs a
and
doctor.
it's still that way today.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I remember one day I took, and now I can't remember his name now. It's going to drive me crazy. But I took, I said to Stamey, because Stamey just got back, Rock, and I forget who the other guy was that he was riding horseback and fell off the side of a cliff. And so I remember him telling the story to John Boy and Billy on the air.
Oh, yeah.
And his name's going to drive me crazy because I remembered it one day and now I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But I said, listen, we're going to John Boy and Billy. It's early in the morning. We met, drove up, and I said, listen, you guys tell all the stuff that you can, that you're clear, that you can talk about. Don't worry about me. I
Yeah.
said, because I will be the brunt of the joke. So
Right.
don't let it bother you. Trust
Yeah.
me. I know the game. I know the deal. It's
Yeah.
John Boy and Billy. So
Right.
sure as shit, we're sitting there and they're talking about battling this and battling that, battling this and battling that. And Billy goes, the only thing Sargey's ever battled is traffic at the Bristol Motor Speedway. It was just like, anytime there was a punchline, it was at me.
Yeah.
So we're driving, we leave there and we're driving up to Hendrick Motorsports because I was getting them a tour of the facilities because Rock was a big Jeff Gordon fan. And matter of fact, Jimmy Johnson had won his first race out in California. It was coming in with the trophy and they were able to get a picture with him.
Oh, cool.
And I can't remember. I don't know whatever happened. I mean, I made sure I got the picture to the guys or whoever took it. I took it with their camera because didn't have cell phones with cameras on then.
Right.
That was a new thing. But it was funny because as we're driving out there, they're like, man, they're on you. I'm like, it's all part of the show, dude. It's nothing personal. It's to make a joke. It's funny because
it's entertainment is what
it's entertainment. I mean, I'm on one of their albums for the Poot because John was trying to do a push up, and he's like, Sarge, am I doing this right? And I said, get your butt down, because he was arching his back. And as soon as I pushed him on his lower back, he farted. And I bailed out of the room laughing because I didn't want to laugh on the air.
Sure.
I laughed and diving out the room, and that became the joke. Was because did I hear did they hear the pootie on the radio? And then the whole bit made it on into one of the albums.
Oh, that's funny.
It's kind of funny, yeah. And like I said, I've been out there other times, but I like to take people up there because,
I like that show. I thought it was pretty funny most of the time. I mean,
and they're still on the air. I mean, they're still going strong. I mean, they're not as syndicated as much as they were, but they've been doing it for 40 years and stuff.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, it's crazy, but yeah. I mean, I heard what was funny thing was told me was because I guess Jarrett. Now I'm like, who owns Black Rifle Coffee?
Oh yeah, Jared Taylor.
Jared Taylor. And then and I heard he's Jared Taylor, and he did stuff with Matt, Matt Best.
Yeah, Matt Best.
All that stuff. Well, it's funny because I'm talking to Chongo and Melon at an event one night, and they're like, "Yeah, we used to, when all the airmen wanted to talk to you, we told them they had to talk to us first." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They say, "Oh yeah, anytime because we told everybody knew because you could get people to do get stuff, and you were the guy for tickets to the strip bar or here or there or this and that, but they wanted to come talk directly to you. We're like, oh no, you got to go through us first.
You can't talk to the man directly. No way.
You can't talk to the man. He's with us. You can't talk to the man. You got to talk to us first. What is it you want? And we'll take it to him and see if And I was dying laughing. And they're like, yeah. Well, even when Jared Taylor showed up, we say, yeah, Gary Parks was you before you were you.
It's kind of right though. I mean, it kind of is right. Yes. I mean, you're like a celebrity. You know what I mean?
Well, it was just funny because I never looked at it. Like I never was a look at me,
Sure.
I don't have the I love me wall or anything like that,
Right.
I just, cause I was just never, I don't go around with Desert Storm or OIF hat on or something.
Right.
It's just not me, man. I was just always like, yeah, I was in it. I loved it. I wasn't, I got away from it cause I didn't really see the job, going the way it did, where there was a lot of opportunities at the end, and so when I was already I saw the Speedway Children's Charities as my way of getting around NASCAR and getting around the Air Force, race team guys and Chief Fuller and all those guys, because I knew them from doing the other events and they knew who I was from the air pre-race shows and everything.
Sure.
Else. And just I was networking it to see where I could get to it, and then it just kind of, when a billionaire thinks that, one of his lowly employees is trying to work his way on one of his pieces of tail, you get fired.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. So we were at an event and it was some girl that he had hired. She was a not Miss USA, but a Miss United States of America was her title.
Okay.
And she was working, with one of Bruton's best friends at this one production company. But her and I had a lot of great ideas, and we were trying to powwow on how to make stuff happen, how to raise money, because I was seeing that all of the drivers were starting their own nonprofits and their own tax shelters, and we were getting less and less from the drivers. So I was looking at other ways to raise money. And she and I were talking, and we went at an event and we started talking to, them about it. Well, I guess he made a move on her, and she got wigged out and left. Well, I think he thought it was because of me. Like I was trying to make a move on her too.
Oh, okay.
So then she quit. I got her. They asked me to get her computer from her, and then I went back. I said, "Here's your computer." And like a day later, I get a call. Hey, Sarge, come down to the dealership. We need to talk to you. So I made the joke to the girl that was there, admin girl. I was like, "Hey, you got a box? I need to pack up all my stuff. I'm probably getting fired." "You're not getting fired." I went in there. I was like, "You're not a team player." "What the hell you mean I'm not a team player?" I coordinated all the local radio stations when the Bragg dudes came back. They were going to have a big picnic. I had the oldie station was out there. I got the country station out there.
Yeah.
I got the local TV people to come out there. and Jack Roush flew to General down in his plane. What's his name? It owns South Point. He was a race car driver. I'm mentioned his name, The Rock, the other day. His father owned South Point Casino, and he was driving. He came down. This other guy named White came down. They were both like NASCAR drivers, and came down with the to say thank you, and made it a big event. How am I not a team player?
I know.
I drove all them down in a van, and but it's just kind of funny, man. It's just that was the deal. So I had my real estate license, and I started working at the radio station part time. But so I was always jobbing.
Yeah,
I think I told you about the time I was working at Domino's at Shaw.
Yeah. Well, tell me about that. What was the deal?
And it was a Friday night. I just came back from a delivery, and as I cleared the security door, I hear this pop, and like a ball broke or something. So I went, did you hear that? The guy goes, yeah. I walked back out and I looked around the glass. I said, oh, it looks like a bulb or something broke in there. He goes, there's no bulbs in there. And I looked and there was a hole in the glass. I said, somebody just took a shot at the building. And then I ducked behind a pillar of concrete. I'm like, you see anybody out there? And they're like, no. And I ducked down. I went back in the building. We called 911. Well, it turns out that it was Subway and then a TV repair place and then Domino's.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess somebody working at Subway, some guy was hitting on his girlfriend who worked at Subway, and the jealous boyfriend drove by and was just popping off 357 rounds.
Jeez.
And one of them came and hit our building. Needless to say, we closed then. We closed up that night.
Jeez.
But I just, like I said, I was doing jobs part time all the time, and I just was just make money. But at the same time, what am I going to do? Sit and drink? Be in a bar drinking?
Yeah. Keep busy. Do what you like to do.
Work was my hobby, man.
Yeah.
Work was my hobby. It's like I work for now, and I had we created a nonprofit called Lunch Buddy Foundation, myself and Jim Zagorski, because he was having me come down on a regular basis to work for him.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes, hey, come on, let's go to lunch, put on the company. And then it dawned on me, he needed me there so he could charge lunch to the company. I said, oh, so I'm just your trusty sidekick, Lunch Buddy. Well, that's what it kind of panned off of.
Yeah.
And then we did a motorcycle, we did a poker run and a comedy show. My friend Killer Bees came over and he performed with this other guy. It was a local guy in Navarre. And we just kept it going. My wife and I have kept it going. And we took over our community's farmers market and created the Freeport Farmers Market. Took it from a failing market up to, and brought back 8 of the original vendors and made it up into 80 vendors.
Nice.
And we ran it we were even like event of the year for the Emerald Coast.
Oh, really?
Which is local. Yeah, it was kind of funny. And we won an award for that. Got voted in because we brought in music, and like I said, we had like 80 vendors, and it became a party, man. I mean, the reason I have the mic and I have a Rodecaster, Pro too, with all the sound effects and stuff on it.
Uh-huh.
I was making I was doing our marketing and making commercials, for Facebook, but I was blasting them, all the way up to Dothan over to Mobile.
Really?
And we would get people that are on vacation from over in Destin from other states coming over to us.
Nice.
And then of course, greed plays a big part because all the money we raised, pay the vendors paid, we just fanned it back out into smaller nonprofits or to the community. Like we gave, a couple $1,000s to the high schools,
nice.
Supported like backpack stuff and a food bank. But when somebody wants to make a profit, they decide they want it back any way means possible. So they took it, they kind of took it away from us in the community, but we still have it, where I can do, I trademarked Freeport Farmers Market. So even the city of Freeport couldn't steal it from me.
Oh, nice.
But we still got money in the nonprofit for Lunch Buddy Foundation, and we still, funnel it out, Walton County Animal Shelter and different things like that, man.
So cool.
Hey, it's not my loss. I mean, that became a full-time job in the evenings.
Yeah.
With vendors call in or having to do, have to do a promo from on the road. Like if I'm traveling, the week, like we'd have a market on a Sunday. We had 2 weeks till our next market. It took up all that time.
Yeah. And you got a job, you got a
Finding,
full-time job anyway, so it's not like you, I mean, they need to understand that, yeah, it's double work for you. It's not like you're just doing it, out of the kindness of your heart or whatever.
So funny thing is we got a 2-year-old we watch, and he's one of our volunteers, and we've pretty much raised this kid with the mother and father, because all the other grandparents are out of state,
Mm-hmm.
and they live in our community. Well, he got sick with the rotavirus and brought it to us, and I ended up in the hospital with a twisted bowel because of all the scar tissue from all the surgeries. I had a twisted bowel, and it was the Saturday before we were supposed to have a market out at this one place.
Oh man,
that we found a kind of a new home, and we'd already held one there, but now all the stuff that we have in our trailers locked up in our storage facility. The keys are in the house because my wife had to drive. I just finished playing Santa Claus over at Bob Hope Village, the enlisted village.
Yeah.
And she had to do something. We were going to go out and mark the field. She had to do some real estate stuff. I said, I'm just going to take a nap. I woke up, took a shot of ginger ale. I'm throwing up bile now.
Oh my God.
And that's all. And it was literally, I was throwing bile up. Well, I said, you got to take me to the hospital. So 4:00 that Saturday afternoon in the emergency room. Now they're like, we're going to admit him. And they start shoving a tube down to pump my stomach. And and I'm getting calls. You can't cancel the market. I'm like, we're canceling the market because you can't get to the stuff, and nobody knows how to run it because everybody's out. We put that online that we were canceling the market. People are like, how unprofessional of you to cancel the market. Such a short notice.
It's like, I'm in the hospital, dude. Come on.
It's an emergency.
Yeah.
I may have to have emergency surgery to have remove part of my bowel if it doesn't untwist itself, And I was in there Saturday night, all day Sunday, and most of Monday. And it finally cleared, and I was finally able to eat food.
Jeez.
But I was almost taken out by a 2-year-old who wasn't even 2 yet. He was. I think he was just 1. He was just 1 years old.
It's so, I don't know. I don't know if it just pisses me off when, like, you're going through that situation and people can't see past themselves to, like, be like, yeah, I know, I get it. You're in a bad way right now. You're in the hospital. Yeah. That's, instead of saying, we're mad about the market not going on. They should be like, hey, thank you for your help in the past.
Oh no.
None of that stuff. No appreciation for what you've done.
And I watch somebody like take like they're a look at me, look what I just did type of person, and everybody will praise the hell out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of made enemies because we wouldn't just let anybody. Like, I had to kick the Democrat Party and the Republican Party out after the first market. I kicked them out. I sent them an email. I said, you can't be here.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to pay like everybody else, number one.
Right.
Because they were always allowed to do it for free. I said, but here's the problem. It's such a toxic environment. The last thing I need is for anybody to get hurt.
Right.
Because this one woman who was collecting signatures for recycling with the Democrat Party, the Republican Party had a tent. They had all their Trump stuff. They had all of their, trying to join the Republican Party, and they're right on the street. They're right on the roadside. Yeah. So they're all gathered around and they're all talking. Everybody's back. Nobody's got their head on a swivel.
Right.
That's all it would take for some kind of radical to drive by and throw something or shoot. And by the time they, go, what happened? Person's gone.
Yeah.
Plus,
even if nothing happens, you have like these two polarizing entities, in the same area. It's like, why are we politicizing this? And like, just, everybody just come in and be neutral and buy your stuff.
I didn't want it to offend any vendors.
Right.
By allowing, like, that might be against the Republican Party, not want to come to the market because they're there.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
For sure. Yeah.
And I didn't want anything to be said or done to where that person with the Democrat Party or the Republican Party go online and say, because it would never be that this individual said something to us. It's where it happened.
Right.
It happened at the Freeport Farmers Market. That means that's my responsibility.
Yep.
I said, I got to worry about everybody's well-being out here and safety.
Yeah.
So I can't have you here. Come out here and walk around, but don't be passing out pamphlets because I'll ask you to leave. but just come out here and enjoy the time here. I
Sure.
said, because if I let you there, I've got to let every other group out here, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because,
But what,
I got to let them out here.
exactly.
I got to let every group that has a cause, I got to let them all come out here and set up a tent because I let you all come out here and set up a tent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
there's no reason to
it's a
politicize.
farmer's market.
Yeah,
Have a business expo, or have a political rally, and then you all come out here. But
right.
I can't have you here at the farmer's market because that's not what we're about.
Right.
I wouldn't let businesses or politicians come out there to just. How is it fair that I let some guy selling, gutters or hurricane shutters pay $25 and get hooked up with a $3,000 deal because somebody's going to have them come out there?
Yeah.
Because every person there, you had something, you could walk away with something in your hands, whether it be little tchotchkes or vegetables or seafood or meat, or candles. There was something for everybody. But you weren't going to come out there and sell a real estate mortgage or earn a client, because my wife has her own brokerage. She has a broker's license here in New York, so she's not selling herself as a realtor. I'm not letting somebody else come out there and sell themselves as a realtor and get a deal that they're going to make $20,000 off of.
Right.
We're just setting up for $25. No, it ain't happening.
Right.
So I mean, so we made a lot of enemies that way because we wouldn't let them do it. And I mean, but it's unfortunate the vendors didn't understand that because they were just, that I was looking out for them.
I mean,
because they just
that doesn't seem to fit in the farmer's market. That doesn't.
It's funny because we had three farmers, then we had a seafood vendor who had their own seafood company, right? So they all local catch.
Yeah.
Call them a shrimp farmer, shrimp herder, call them what you want. And then we had a cattle rancher who was a farmer. We had a guy write up that said we weren't a real farmer's market, we were more crafts. Now, granted, we had 80 vendors, but if all the farmers are going home with a lot of product, they're not going to come back.
Yeah.
So if all three of them are selling out every time, then I'll add another one.
Right.
To balance it out. To because we need more. But they were comparing us to this business down the street that was a so-called farmer's market, but they had all their produce brought in from the Winn-Dixie truck.
That's not the same.
No. And they had other businesses selling their wares there.
Jeez.
But they said that's a farmer's market. This is more of a craft market. I'm going. And I was like, dude, they get all their stuff. The Winn-Dixie guy brings their stuff in.
Yeah. When
he's making a pass by. So, but it's just little things like that. It's kind of funny, man. It's like the mentality of people. Like I got berated by a bunch of people in the community, and when I would go back at them, they called me a bully.
That's the way it is now, though. That's the way you can't speak your mind. You can't you can't be matter of fact. You have to handle everybody with these kid gloves, or otherwise they get so so emotionally butthurt. I mean, it's just crazy.
I had a dude that's he's probably 20 years younger than me, lifts like a beast. I think he's doing jiu-jitsu now, right?
Yeah.
Lives around the corner from me. In my old day, in my baseball days, I could hit his house with a baseball. Right?
Yeah.
Can't do it now. But that's how close he lives to me. It's within a baseball field from right field, left field to home plate distance.
Right.
He's giving me crap online. I went, dude, you know where I live. Why don't you just come talk to me over here? You're a bully. I'm like going, so you know what I start doing to people? And I've done it a lot. It's like, I'll put a teddy bear picture up. I'm like, please point to the bear where I hurt you. Please show me on the bear where I offended you. And
exactly.
It's
spin them up.
Yeah. It's like, cause I always tell people, like, listen, I'm a professional smartass. I said, right. I was a strip bar DJ. I was born and raised a smartass by my dad. I mean, hey, at my retirement, I was starting to get caught up in emotion. My parents were sitting there. I said, and to kind of catch myself, I said, well, I need to thank my parents for doing it in August of '63. So I was born in '64, because I was like starting to get caught up in the moment, because it was in my retirement. But yeah, man, I was like, I think I started to feel bad after a while when I retired because I felt like I let some of the airmen down by not staying in because of some of the NCOs that they were stuck with.
Yeah, but you
You know,
can't. It's not your responsibility. You know what I mean? I mean,
no, but you know what you mean. You
I
know,
know how you feel for sure.
when
Yeah,
you're there with people and you've been there for them and you kind of like stuck by them and and stood up for them or whatever, and then it's time for you to. I was just done, man. I was just you know
yeah,
I was just done. I just couldn't. I just saw just a different, just the way things were being done. I just
yeah,
couldn't do it. I could only be vocal so long.
for sure.
But yeah, man, is there anything else on the? I can't remember what else I put on
I
the
think
paper.
that's it. I think we covered it all. Yeah, I think we went through it. Do you have any? Are you still? So you're still doing the Lunch Buddy Foundation?
Yeah, we do it. We do it. We have it like so. We just did um for like the senior centers. We started doing the senior facilities like where they have in care or and we just did one as a senior. It's a senior living facility. We go there, but we also pulled markets at Bob Hope Village. I don't charge the vendors because I don't know how much money they're going to make.
Right.
It's more for the Bob Hope Village over there by Eglin. They open up the community for the outside, so you get more people. But to pull people at some of the local places
Yeah.
that are for seniors, it gets kind of tough, and you're limited on space too. So I have to be, and I'm limited on my vendors because
Sure.
you can't have candles, because they might burn the place down.
Right. Right.
But but yeah, I mean, I've played Santa Claus for Bob Hope Village. I've played the Easter Bunny for Bob Hope Village, and that's where that one picture I sent you of me in the Easter Bunny costume was. We were at L3 Harris. We were having a whole new construction wing done of for training, and the guy that ran it wanted to pictures all the time of progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the lady he was asking to do the pictures, I said, I'm going to bring my Easter Bunny costume in because Dorothy had an Easter Bunny costume for her restaurant.
Yeah.
So now here's a picture, like you would see pictures being like in a slide presentation of all the how it's coming along,
Right.
and then all of a sudden, that's an Easter Bunny. What's an Easter Bunny? And so I did a couple pictures like that, and then I had a mullet wig and glasses, and I was in there like I was a mile before, like with mullet wig and everything on, and then I had a Spider-Man mask, and I'm like like Spider-Man
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
out, and so it was always something different,
Right.
just because I had one of the instructors I had, he was losing his hair, and I'm on vacation from Iraq, and I walk in and I go, "Hey, Randy, how's it going?" "I'm losing my hair." "Don't say anything." "Hey, man, oh, I'm sorry to hear that." "Yeah, I got Propecia or something like that." And it's plotching out.
Yeah.
So I'm down in the mall, and there's a Halloween store there. So I get 3 wigs. I get a Sweeney Todd wig, I get a mullet wig, and I get a Beatles wig, and I get 3 styrofoam heads. And because he has a mustache, I paint a mustache on it, and I put him up in his cubicle, and I'm like Randy's training aids, and I put Army, Navy, and Air Force underneath each one of them, and I took a picture and sent it to everybody. It was like, dude, don't tell me. I mean, I get it. You're losing your hair. He wore a high and tight all the time. The dude's been out of the Army for I don't know how many years, and he still wears a high and tight.
Yeah.
I just think you just got a high and tight, man.
Yeah. No, nobody's looking at it. Yeah.
But
like you were saying, like we were saying before, you don't let us know what bothers you. Otherwise, that's all we're going to think about. That's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
Harp on that.
Especially if you let it be known.
Right. Yeah.
Never say you don't like something.
Oh, for sure. That's like day one stuff. Yeah.
and they still haven't learned to this day, especially around me. That's
right.
Human intelligence, right? The human intel, right? You just collect the information. You sit there and listen.
That's right.
But we thought, like, make sure if you're downrange someplace, you don't talk around the locals. Don't be sitting in a bar in Europe and talking around about this, or in a bar in South Korea, because you don't know who's listening.
Yeah, right.
I was just sitting there and listening to these jabronis just talk all kinds of stuff, and then it would come back on them, because if they took a shot at me, I would take a shot back at me, and then take a shot back at them with truth bombs.
Right.
And then, it was never a good thing. It was never good for them. So, but it's
Right.
always funny, man. I would say I can't remember all the stuff I put on the pages, that I
No,
gave
this
you.
this was awesome. This is perfect. Um, yeah, unless you can
I
think of
could have,
anything
we
else,
could have probably went on for even longer. I don't know.
probably.
It was like, for even more
Yeah,
shit because I
well,
just,
that's kind of how it is. That's why I send these things out so kind of jog people's memory. But once we get talking, you start thinking of things and things come up, and
oh
yeah,
man,
yeah. I mean, we're talking, 30 years, 30 plus years of
I've been with L3 Harris when it was just Harris, right? I've
yeah,
been with them for 18 years now.
yeah.
I've been all over the world. Hell, I've been more times at NTC with Harris and JRTC with Harris than I was when I was in the Air Force.
I'm sure it's
You
easier
know?
and easier working
Oh yeah.
conditions probably than
Yeah, same with like Graph and stuff.
yeah,
I've been, there, but it's funny because I to me I've lived a full life
sure,
because like my dream job as a kid was to be a radio DJ.
okay,
And I did it for 13 years while I was in the Air Force.
yeah,
And then a little while afterwards, because I went to work at the country station in Charlotte. And then I met Craig Morgan there, and then I got to go to concerts and I met Charlie Daniels,
nice,
besides all the NASCAR drivers,
right,
um, and, I mean them, but they're just people.
right.
Cause my thing was always like, have you ever jumped out of an airplane from 18,000 feet with a weapon and a 50 pound rucksack? Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Hey, did you ever take a shit in Afghanistan? Ah, okay.
With Black Hawk right over you.
The Black Hawk flying over top of you, because what's funny is when we got back to, we got, I think there was another story on there. I didn't cover it, but when we got back to Bagram, we're in the chow hall, and in the chow hall, I hear this, and I look over. There's a bunch of like a helicopter crew, and
Oh,
I think it was them. I think it was them, and
yeah,
they recognized me, because they could see my face at least,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But yeah, man, so what was funny is to get back to Kandahar, we all had to go to Sib, Oman,
Really?
right? Yeah. So yeah, you had to go. You couldn't go straight back for some reason. You had to R&R for a couple of days
Oh, okay.
at sea. But what was crazy was you had to check in all your weapons and lock them in a locker. The Omanians guarded the base.
Okay.
I'm like, this is crazy. So it was all C-130 units down there and everything else, and we're all sitting around, and this army officer comes over, and he says, "Oh, I thought you guys were Army." I'm like, well, we kind of are. We're TACPs. We were up, because what's funny is we had to send a dude down there to get steaks and different like special stuff for us.
Yeah.
But they had that stuff stacked all over the place. We had, you had the water to shower at Kandahar. You better not use all the hot water, or you were filling, and you had porta johns,
Yeah.
and they were all lined up, and it was hot, right? Well, there they had running water. They had porcelain toilets that you could go in and and shower there too, and things like that.
Yeah.
And they complained that they got steak 4 meals a day. If they wanted to have steak 4 times a day, they could have it, and they were complaining about it. So we were just kind of laughing. But you could have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I think Sunday. You could have it was 2 beers or 3 beer minimum per person.
Oh, okay.
And did you know Blue Banks?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Blue Banks, and his reputation.
Not very well.
So,
Yeah. Once or twice I've interacted, but anyway.
you heard of some of the stuff that he was like, kind of being silly about. But he was just blue because he used to come down and jump with us at Shaw,
Mhm.
and only come down by himself because his brother and his family lived up in the Kershaw area.
Oh, okay.
So he would have them up there. And so he wouldn't tell anybody else. He'd come down and jump by himself and then go hang out with his brother, Red. Yeah, his brother's name was Red. So he turns around and he went over on the Advon team. So we got to the point where there was a lot of jokes made about him. So now we decided we're not going to talk about him. We're not going to bitch and complain about him, and we're not going to mention the name Blue or Banks or anything. Okay, good. Or it's going to cost you a round of beers. So sitting there, we meet the MWR girls. They have an issue because they needed somebody to host an event they were doing that night. They were giving away some prizes.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked me. I said, "Well, I'm a radio DJ back in the States, and I was also a strip bar DJ. I'd be more than happy to host it for you." Will you? Okay, great. So now all the guys are sitting off to the side. I'm up there. Hey, welcome to blah, 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 blah. We're going to give this away. We're going to call out some names. We get 6 people up on the stage, and we're going to play Twister. And whoever's left standing is going to win. So I'm spinning. Right foot blue, left foot blue, left fist, left hand blue. It's like all this back and forth. But I said blue like 8 times.
Right.
During the game. So I come up and I made sure I tuned those guys out because I figured they might be heckling me and everything else. But they were just over there cheering me on because I was saying blue. So they're like, dude, you're awesome. I said, did it sound that good? Yeah, you said blue 8 times. 8 rounds of beers. I'm like,
dang it.
Oh, come on. Oh, no, man, you said blue. And I'm like, oh, this was Twister. Yeah, so I ended up paying for 8 rounds of beers, man. Jeez. It was kind of funny. Yeah. I mean, it's a buck of beer, but it was crazy. We had to go there and then come back up to, Kandahar.
Well, that's a nice little rest.
Yeah, because I think the people that were stationed there could actually go down to the coast and stay at, like, they had a deal with like the Hilton that was on the beach.
No kidding.
Something like that, yeah. And they got to go down there for pretty cheap.
Jeez.
I'm thinking, yeah, I guess this is a safe place to be over here.
Yeah, right.
But like I said, I spent like 5 months in Tajikistan. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Just some, I didn't send you any of the pictures, but I called him the fat kid because on the side of the road, they had that day they butchered up like a couple of goats.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a kid standing there with the goat fat in his hands. It's a little skinny kid, and you could buy it, So we were going to teach their drug enforcement agents, radio training. And then on the way back, Farouz, my driver / interpreter, bought some goat meat from him, and they put in salt and threw it. We still had like a 4-hour drive back to his house, but it's all kind of flies flying all over it.
I was going to say, what would that smell like?
Just, you really couldn't smell it, but it was like, just cut me off a shoulder. Big old axe in a wood, on a wood block that probably had more disease on it than anything else.
Right.
Hack. But, like anything else, the 5-second rule here in the States is nothing compared to eating over there with dirt and all the soils in there. You're sitting there eating an MRE and it's like dust is blowing and you're just chewing on this,
Yeah.
You don't think about it. But
no,
you don't. It's like, but yeah. I said, I've had a lot of experiences that like I said, I've lived a full life, man.
Yeah.
Traveled to, tons of countries, met tons of people. And, like I said, no real regrets because I did a radio gig for 3 different stations. And, I knew John Boy and Billy and hung out with them and still friends with them, because I was going up for Bickle's retirement.
Oh, okay.
And, my wife and I stopped by there and saw them, and they met my wife Dorothy, and so it was pretty cool. We went up there another time too. Like we went up there twice.
Yeah, and they were still.
I can't complain, man.
I didn't realize they were still on the radio. That's cool. Yeah,
yeah, they are. They're not on in Charlotte, but they're still on in Georgia and a couple other places. They're on like maybe 40 stations.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome, man. Like I said before, when I was reading through this thing, it was like, this is going to be good. I was literally laughing out loud at some of these stories already on just reading them. So it was good to hear you tell them, and good catching up too. Like you said, I hadn't talked to you forever, and I
hadn't seen you forever. But it was Rock that told me about the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's been on here. Have you watched his episode at all?
Yeah. He's like, you got to do it. I said, well, if I'm asked, I'll do it. But I'm not going to reach out and go, hey, can I be on your show? Because that's, it's like, and then when you reached out, I was wondering if Rock said, hey, call Gary or something like that.
No, you're just one of those guys that I, remember from back in the day. And, yeah, I always knew that, like I said before, every time we ever went to brag, it was like, if something some big thing was going on. It was like, yep, Gary's in charge. Gary, is he either in charge of it or involved in some way, or
Well,
like
I make connections. It's about networking,
for
and
sure.
just, and, but again, it was like, I wanted people involved with it. I didn't do it for me. I really didn't. And I
Yeah.
didn't do it so people would owe me, because
Oh, yeah,
I don't do that. It's like, just, I hope you had fun,
yeah,
and I hope you, my thing is, I hope that you do it for somebody else if you have an opportunity,
sure. Yeah,
if
I don't think
somebody has
anybody got that. I never got that impression. It was just like you had the hookup, and like I said before, that's just the cardinal golden rule. For us back in the day was like you didn't you if you had a good deal, you better share it with your buddies, or it's what it's all about. It's like getting your
yeah,
buddies involved and helping them out and helping out each other. So yeah, you
yeah.
definitely did
I mean,
that. I mean,
I was an air show announcer up at Thunder over Niagara twice. I saved them like $8,000 or $9,000, and actually I think I got an achievement medal out of it, because the guy that was I mean, yeah, he knew airplanes. He knew how to talk the talk,
yeah,
but when he talked and he was explaining to everybody in the crowd, 100,000 people, this is his tone the whole entire time. It's like Cecil the tortoise could be
yeah.
faster,
Everyone's like
you know.
going to
So,
sleep
I
and
mean, I was out there, and it was like, "Hey, from right to left, the show center, there's a formation of B1RDs or GU11s," and people be looking. I'm like, "Gulls, seagulls,"
yeah,
and they'd be like, "Oh, you dick," you know, and and that's the stuff that I would say,
yeah, yeah.
just being silly, because I was just out there to entertain when the
That's what I
planes
was gonna
weren't
say.
flying.
You got to
You know what I'm
entertain them. You can't just like give me
saying?
information is gonna put everybody to sleep. Yeah, you got to make it
Oh,
fun.
yeah, and that's the way the guy talks. He was so monotone. It was like, because I did the announcing for our we did a airfield seizure,
Hmm.
you know, and so once we did that, I was like, hey, I'm a radio DJ part time. I'll be more than happy to come up here and announce your air shows for you. And they paid for me to come up there,
Nice.
So I did that 2 years, and then the first year we did it for the squadron. But then the guys came up there and jumped in twice,
Yeah.
you know. And one year that's the the Blue Angels were there one year,
Hmm.
and we were like at a pre-show party, and I told Bickle, I said, Dave, anybody asks you what you do, tell them you're an Air Force model, and
He
you
can pull
model
it
for
off. If anybody can pull it off,
the
he can.
catalog, and that you went through basic training and, well, like everybody else, but you practiced runway, and he came back and goes, dude, I just told some staff sergeant that, and he believed me, so. You,
You
it's
couldn't you
just
couldn't
funny stuff,
you
man. It's
couldn't
just,
say that to a whole lot of people. I mean, Dave could pull that off, but
yeah,
not a lot of people could pull that off.
no,
Um, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I really appreciate it. I mean, this was
hey man.
fun. This was great catching up. And thanks for everything you've done and what you continue to do. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Well, hey man, and same to you, man, and thank you for your service. I mean, you always been. I mean, I I knew you as a good dude. I've never ever heard a bad thing about you from anybody, man, because you just and what you're doing is awesome.
Right on.
Doing this podcast and everything,
Well, kind of like
because
you said, it's not about me. It's about you guys. So it's
yeah.
my pleasure to do it.
All right, man. I think about some of the stuff you could get away with back in the '70s and the '80s that you can't get away with today. Going to all boys Catholic high school, we had our rival school that was on our way to school, which was Cardinal Gibbons. I went to Mount St. Joe. Cardinal Gibbons was our rival all boys Catholic high school, and then Keogh was the all girls school that both of our schools got cheerleaders from, and we also had their rival was around the corner from my high school called Mount the Sales. So one morning I'm waiting on the bus stop, and a bunch of the guys I grew up with, they were going to school, and they were driving the car. They said, "Hey, you want to ride with us?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So instead of waiting for the bus, I hopped in with them, and we had to stop at Keogh and drop one of our friends off, Teresa. So as we get to the we got to go around the front of the school, drop Teresa off. I'm like, hey, I'm going to stick my ass out the window. Y'all hit the horn and we'll moon them all as we're pulling around. You had to go down the front of the school, hang a left, past all the school buses, and the part of the parking lot. And then as you turn to go out to our school, you're passing the city buses dropping people off. so, and so I stick my ass out the window. They're hitting the horn. I'm laughing. We're all laughing. Go down, mooning all the girls, turning the corner, just hitting everybody. Get to school, and around lunchtime, it's right before lunch. I'm in art class, and I get this. Have Gary Parks report to Brother Brian's office, and Brother Brian was our dean of students. So I'm like, all right, somebody ratted us out. Just wondering how, who. So I get in there and I look around the room, and everybody's there but this one guy. And I went, that's who ratted us out. So we're just sitting there, and then Brother Brian comes, and there's 6 of us in there, and Brother Brian goes, so you guys had a good morning? We're like, yeah, brother. It's like, do anything special today? We're like, no, brother. Just came to school. Like any stops along the way? So yeah, we had to stop at Keo, drop a friend off. Anything else? So I yeah, brother, we mooned all the girls over at Keo. Oh, did you think it was funny? Oh no, brother. No. At the time it was funny, but oh no, brother, what? No. So why'd you do it? I was like, it was spur of the moment. And he goes, who did it? And I did it. I know he's got to know, So I bit the bullet, and he's like, were you with him yesterday? I was like, no. He's like, you got 8 days detention. Rest you get a letter. He goes, you got 8 days detention, and you have to go apologize to the dean of students. So I guess the nun who was the dean of students was one of my victims, along with my understanding is the janitor, the gym teacher, who knows who else, all the girls, as we go to school. So I had 8 days detention, go apologize to the dean of students. And they got 5 days detention and a letter sent home. Come to find out, and I wasn't aware of this, the day before, they were in the parking lot drinking, waiting for Teresa to come on, because they were waiting for Teresa to come out. Well, the janitor, parking lot attendant guy, whatever he was, took their make and model car and their license plate down. So they already had it on. They already had it. So here we come the next morning, doing something else stupid, and figured out where it came from. And sure enough, all of us except for one got in trouble. But I think I probably got the worst of it, because I got home, I missed dinner. My mom was like, "Where were you?" I said, "I had detention." She's like, "For what?" I said, I mooned a bunch of girls at Keo, and she said, "Go see your father." I hopped in the car. I drove down to the funeral home where my dad was working in the evenings, and man, I didn't even get to the door. I was walking down the driveway from the parking lot. He opens up the door and just goes, "You're grounded until your report card comes in." And I still had another month and a half before my report card come in. So, like I said, I think I got the worst of it, because I don't know if the letters ever made it to the parents, because they never said any more about it. They did their 5 days and moved on. But Mr. Moyer, who was the assistant dean of students, he had to drive me over to Keo, to the girls' school, so I could apologize to the dean of students. And man, I didn't get in the door with him. All the girls that were in the hallway already knew who I was, because they were like, oh. Luckily, it was the assistant dean of students, but she was also a nun. And it wasn't the last time I mooned somebody. Work with him on weekends at the funeral home, and go to practice for baseball and stuff. So I was kind of stuck for a little while, but not only when I in high school did I help my dad at the funeral home cutting grass on Saturday. We had 2 funeral homes to cut grass for. Not only did I do that, but he also would take me on removals, picking up bodies on weekends. So I knew, and I think it's probably why I get up early in the morning, and 2 a.m. is like my alarm clock, because it seemed like it was anytime, Friday or Saturday, 2 a.m., phone would ring. I get my dad, I hear him get up, and he'd go, "Hey, Gary, you want to go on a removal?" I'm like, "Sure, Dad." I got paid $25 to go with him. But I would go pick bodies up with him at people's houses, either Fridays or Saturdays. And, and even when I was home on leave, if the phone rang, he'd say, "You want to go with me?" I'm like, "Sure." So I always made sure I had a decent pair of clothes to wear, not just jeans, but a decent pair of, slacks and a shirt to go, look presentable as you're going in the house and pick, a person up. But I remember a couple of them. They were pretty crazy. One, I was in the service by this time. I go with him, and woman had passed away in her recliner. It was an older woman. My dad says, "You grab her under her shoulders. I'm gonna grab her by the feet just in case." Because normally, like in those situations, the bowels would release, and he didn't want anything to like get, like hit me. So as I'm over top of the recliner, and I'm picking her up, and he's got her by the legs, and we're getting ready to put her on a stretcher. She goes, and I just go, and I just look at him, and he's like, "It's just, trap gas. It's all good." I'm thinking, this woman ain't dead yet. But, we put her on, and then we took her out. That would kind of like, I was like, whoa, it never happened to me before. So it was kind of funny. And another time, and it was right around the corner from where we lived. We had some row homes up in Brooklyn Park, Maryland. And my dad, we go down to funeral home, pick the station wagon up, get the stretcher and like a little gurney to go on top, because in those row homes, the stairs are pretty tight, so you can't really get a stretcher upstairs. And we go in. My dad says, we go in. He goes, "Wait here," and I'm at the stairs. He walks in the room, comes back, says, "Come on, let's go." I'm like, "We forgetting?" He goes, "No, come on, we got to come back." So we go back to the funeral home. He goes and grabs a bunch of sprays, and I'm like, going, "What's going on?" He goes, "Don't worry about it." And of course, being a dad, don't worry about it. So this was when I was in high school still, so it was kind of crazy. So we go back. He says, hold the little, like little stretcher off just hold it off the ground until I call you. And I hear him go in this room, and I hear him going, psh, 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 he's just spraying all over. I'm like, what the is going on? So he's like, "All right, bring it in." And as I walk in the room is covered in cockroaches like a horror movie. There's cockroaches running all over the walls, all, around the body, across the bed, and the dude is half on and half off the bed. And like, he's just, it was just crazy. It was sort of like a horror movie. Cockroaches running all over the place. They had trash, food on tables and everything. It was pretty nasty. So we put the body on the little gurney, take him downstairs, stick him on the stretcher. And as we're going out to the car, I'm pushing the stretcher into the back of the station wagon. My dad says, "Hold still, you got a bug on your back." Man, I was like, this is like kind of weird to be out. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, it's dead already." I guess it had fallen off the ceiling, but they were crawling across the clock and everything, man. It was like pretty wild. But then as we're leaving, the son goes, "Can you give me a ride around the corner to the Park Lounge?" Which was like, it was like 2 blocks over and on the main highway. My dad's like, "Yeah, sure." So I'm sitting in the middle. This guy's sitting there, and he's like, "Well, Pop, I'm going to miss you. My dad and I would go drinking together, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm like, just be quiet." And he goes, "I'm going to miss you, Dad. I'll drink one to you tonight." So we drop him off at the bar and take his dad down to the funeral home. Of course, they were like, "Just leave him here in the garage, and we're going to spray him down and wash him off and everything else." But it was just kind of crazy. And then, this other time they called me up and asked me to go to the morgue at the hospital. So I'm going in to the morgue, and I'm waiting for them to release the body that I'm supposed to, bring back to the funeral home. And it was sort of like out of a TV show or a movie when you see the morgue, right? So here's the dude. I'm standing there and I'm looking, and there's in the sink is a giant like metal bucket or pot full of intestines. There's a brain sitting there, and the guy is sitting there like taking samples off of a heart. And me being me, I'm like, is that the heart? He goes, "Yep." Doesn't even miss a beat. Yep. And literally, he had his lunch right next to him, and he's as he's taking little samples off of the heart, he's reaching over, grabbing his sandwich, taking a bite. And I'm thinking, this is crazy shit, man. This is like, the dude's brain is right there, his heart's right there. I'm going, this is wild. And got the dude I needed to take back to the funeral home, and so I guess I'm a little warped from that stuff. I don't know.